The story begins with a boy named Chan who sits in his ruined office. His expression is filled with nervousness and worry. The source of his distress is the impending bankruptcy of the company he's been working for, which means his job is also coming to an end. He feels trapped in a whirlwind of emotions: anger, despair, sadness, and futility. Each emotion battles for dominance in his mind. Overwhelmed by his thoughts, he picks up his smartphone and dials his boss to seek further information. However, it quickly becomes clear that his boss is unwilling to help, as the call is abruptly cut off. The phone network informs him that the receiver is currently busy, prompting him to leave a message via voicemail. The spot where he sits is a chaotic mess of files and papers from his office. Glancing anxiously at his phone, he mutters to himself, "I'm going crazy." In an instant, his calm demeanor shifts to anger. He shouts in frustration about his boss's failure to answer the phone, expressing his confusion over what he should do if there's no response. As his thoughts spiral, he realizes that he is seriously losing control. After that day, 6 weeks have passed. One night, Chan walks through the streets surrounded by groups of people enjoying themselves while he remains anxious, desperately searching for a job. He makes a call to a potential employer. The owner bluntly questions what he wants from him, suggesting that he seems too old to work at their cafe. Chan tries to respond calmly, assuring the owner that he understands, but the owner cuts him off and hangs up immediately. Feeling disheartened by the rejection, he quietly murmurs to himself that even finding part-time work has become difficult because of his age. He puts his phone back into his pocket and, with a heavy heart, thinks that it's hard to believe it's been over a month and he still hasn't found a job or even a part-time gig. As he walks, he comments to himself that this is a serious problem. He is in real trouble now because if he pays his phone bill, his remaining balance will be zero, and he still has next month's rent looming. Lost in his thoughts, he suddenly notices he's standing in front of a spot that seems unusually bright. Confused, he wonders aloud if this place was always so well lit. Looking around, he realizes he is standing in front of a convenience store. Its bright lights shone through the night. Surprised, he asked himself when such a large store had opened here. Moving closer, he noticed a flyer posted on the store's glass door. Reading it carefully, he saw that they were hiring part-time workers, open to all genders, and, much to his relief, no age restrictions. As he took in the sight of the flyer, a glimmer of hope sparked in his heart, prompting him to step inside. Upon reaching the reception desk, he was greeted by a calm and welcoming receptionist. He gestured toward the poster and explained, "I came in after seeing the part-time job listing." He asked, "Is the store still hiring part-time workers?" To his surprise, the girl simply stared at him in disbelief, not responding. Confused, he wondered why she seemed so shocked and questioned whether she was unaware of the flyer. Noticing her silence, he called out to her again. Suddenly, her expression shifted as realization dawned on her. With wide eyes, she confirmed, "Yes, we are still hiring." With a bright smile, she introduced herself, revealing that she was the manager of the store. He couldn't help but think she looked more like a school student than a manager. With an upbeat demeanor, she leaves the reception desk cheerfully, pulls out a chair for him at a nearby table, and politely invites him to sit. As she looks around to offer him something to eat, she remembers to ask about a drink. She asks, "What would you like?" and assures him to feel free to tell her his preference. Still puzzled by her cheerful behavior, he replies, "I'd like an Americano." After she brings him the drink, she takes a seat across from him and begins to ask for his personal information, jotting it down on a piece of paper. He shares his name and mentions that he is 29 years old and lives nearby. She then inquires, "Have you ever worked at a convenience store before?" He replies, "I worked at one a few years ago." Her face lights up with joy at this information. She exclaims, "You're the perfect fit for the job. The right age and experience, exactly what I've been looking for." With a smile, she informs him, "Actually, I'm older than you. Is it okay if I speak to you informally?" He takes a sip of his drink and readily agrees, though he can't help but wonder if she really is older than him, given how young she looks. She explains that the work conditions at the convenience store include a basic contract period of 1 year. She casually mentions that he will need to work the night shift every day from 10 o'clock p.m. to 10 o'clock a.m. while she oversees the rest of the operations. Hearing this, he feels a bit disheartened, realizing that his sleep schedule will be completely flipped. As she continues explaining the allowances with a cheerful demeanor, she mentions a clean hourly wage of 20.01. Chan's eyes widen in surprise. Before she can say more, he quickly accepts the job, enthusiastically declaring that he will take it. She asks, "Are you sure you don't want to think it over?" He grips his drink tightly, overcome with happiness, and replies, "I'll start working today." Excited by the salary, he isn't interested in hearing about anything else. Noticing his eagerness, she is amazed. "Would you like to sign the employment contract right here?" she asks. He nods in agreement and signs the paper with a sense of satisfaction. After he finishes filling out the paperwork, the manager approaches him and politely asks if he has completed everything. He simply replies, yes. Smiling, she pulls out a jacket for him with a cheerful expression. Says that since he's starting today, they should begin his employee training right away. She spends the next few hours guiding him through the store, showing him where each item is located and explaining the layout. After about 3 hours, the training session comes to an end. In a calm tone, she mentions that she'll be heading home now. Just as she's about to leave, she suddenly remembers something and informs him our suppliers may arrive early in the morning. She asked him to make sure to check the deliveries. Chan, a bit confused, asks for clarification. She explains that suppliers only come during urgent situations and assures him that she will handle organizing the goods, but he just needs to receive them. Then her tone shifts to a more serious one as she warns him, handle suspicious customers carefully. He assures her that she doesn't need to worry as he's experienced in dealing with difficult customers. Hearing this, she expresses her relief and flashes him another bright smile. She wishes him good luck with his first shift and asks him to take care of everything while she's away. With that, she waves goodbye and heads out, leaving him to begin his shift with a happy and motivated spirit. He waves back, feeling content with how things have turned out. With a heart full of gratitude, he reflects on how kind the manager is. Realizing that he can now pay his rent, he feels a surge of happiness, not only for finding a job with a generous hourly wage, but also for having such a wonderful person as his manager. He thinks to himself that he has truly hit the jackpot. In his mind, he imagines a scene where he is working and she stands nearby, playfully saying that since he is also a police officer, he'll be able to catch any criminals quickly in the store. And there's no need to worry about the night shifts, she adds, with a smile. As he contemplates his salary, he opens the calculator on his computer and starts crunching the numbers. He begins by calculating his weekly pay, stating that working 12-hour shifts 7 days a week would yield $1.68 million. When he considers his monthly earnings, he estimates it to be roughly between $6.7 million and $8.4 million. He envisions that if he works here for just 1 year, he could earn an amount equivalent to the minimum salary of a 10-year veteran at a major corporation. Feeling overwhelmed with happiness about his potential salary, he can hardly contain his excitement. He imagines himself surrounded by piles of money, his eyes sparkling with excitement. He thinks to himself that just 1 month of work could cover several months' worth of living expenses. With renewed determination, he tells himself that he is committed to sticking around. As he is lost in these thoughts, a customer approaches him. Chan snaps back to reality and greets him politely. But the customer responds abruptly, simply asking, "Where are the toothbrushes?" Just as Chan is about to direct him to their location, he suddenly freezes, his eyes widening in shock at the customer's face. The man insists on telling him the exact location of the toothbrushes, but Chan is momentarily speechless. He is taken aback because the customer's face is anything but ordinary. It resembles that of a dog. In an angry tone, the customer with the dog-like face sternly orders him to say something, calling him a lazy guy. Still silent, Chan watches in confusion as the customer asks why he has suddenly stopped talking and presses him again about the location of the toothbrushes. The customer complains that he is already exhausted from a tough day at work. And now, this situation is irritating him even more. Finally snapping out of his shock, Chan politely replies the toothbrushes are located at the end of the fourth corner of the shelves. The customer heads over to the specified spot, grumbling, "I should have spoken up sooner." He again questions why he had been silent before beginning his search for the goods. Meanwhile, Chan is still stunned by the customer's unusual appearance. Pondering whether it might be special effects makeup for a movie, he wonders if there's a film shoot happening nearby. He silently remarks on how impressive the transformation is. After picking a toothbrush from the shelves, the customer returns to the counter and straightforwardly asks, "How much is this?" Chan checks the label and informs him it costs 21,001. The customer hands over a 10-1 note, grabs the toothbrush, and starts to walk away, commenting, "I'm leaving." Chan is surprised and calls after him, "Don't forget your change." The customer glances back, his expression turning angry. He snaps, "You and he bothering me? Take it or leave it. Do whatever you want with the change." With that, he leaves the store. From behind the counter, Chan remains puzzled by the customer's odd behavior and unusual appearance. He wonders if it could simply have been makeup, though he can't understand how it looked so realistic. As he is still lost in thought, another customer enters and Chan greets him politely. This new visitor, however, seems even stranger. He carries a pot filled with coins and sets it on the counter with a loud clatter. Holding a single coin between his fingers, he spins it casually while fixing Chan with a serious look. In a firm tone, he instructs Chan to exchange them for a 10,001 bill. Chan's eyes widen in surprise as he takes in the sight of the unusually small customer. In fact, the man is a goblin, standing much shorter than Chan. As the goblin twirls the coin on his finger, Chan feels unsure of what to do. But the goblin urges him to hurry with the exchange. Chan quickly pulls out his phone and dials the manager's number. When his boss answers, he expresses his frustration, explaining that she won't believe this, but a goblin just walked into the convenience store. Reluctantly, he complies with the goblin's request and exchanges the coins without hesitation, handing over 30,001 in return. The goblin leaves the store with a smile, clutching the money in his hands. Exhausted, Chan sinks to his knees and rests his head on the counter, overwhelmed by the day's events. His eyes widen in disbelief as he murmurs to himself that he just wants to go home. Still reeling from the shock, he realizes that this isn't a dream. It was indeed a goblin he encountered. After collecting himself, he stands up and counts the coins again, trying to piece together how much he had. He recalls the moment when the goblin stood in front of him, his filthy face and grumbling demeanor as he counted the coins. This memory only deepened his frustration and worry. He remembers spending 20 minutes counting 145 coins of 101 each and 31 coins of 501. In a fit of anxiety, he turns on the speakerphone. Still connected to his boss, she calls his name, asking if all the customers have left. Chan lays his head back on the counter, feeling overwhelmed. With a shaky voice, he confesses, "I think I'm losing my mind." He explains that the customers' appearances have been getting increasingly strange, recounting how the first customer had the head of a chihuahua and seemed late. Then there was the goblin, who came in to exchange a mountain of coins for 31. After sharing his concerns with her, Chan asks, "Doesn't that sound strange to you?" The boss, however, reassures him in a calm tone. There's nothing odd about it. This teleportation area is downtown, which naturally leads to a higher concentration of kobolds and goblins. Chan's astonishment grows at her words. She adds, the goblin who exchanged 31 worth of coins was particularly intense. Suddenly, a thought strikes him. "Wait a moment," he says, requesting her to hold on. Confused about the teleportation aspect, he wonders aloud, why would a convenience store even need it? She simply replies, teleportation is a way to reach customers, and also aids in inventory management. Feeling increasingly anxious, he clutches his head and questions, how can a convenience store teleport? He sarcastically asks, am I working for a store manager or a magician? With a confident tone, she affirms, I am indeed a magician. Didn't you know that already? Chan is left completely stunned by this revelation. She begins to explain further, revealing my convenience store is enchanted with teleportation magic. She adds, I cast the spell myself, which allows the store to operate by moving between various locations. Chan stands frozen, absorbing her bizarre explanation. She acknowledges, I should have told you about this earlier, but I forgot. With a worried expression, he moves away from the counter and approaches the door, gripping the handle as he prepares to open it. She reassures him, I'll provide more details tomorrow, but then curiously asks, why have you been acting so strangely? She remarks, you seem like someone from a completely different world. As Chan opens the door to peek outside, his eyes widen in shock. He is stunned to see a bizarre scene unfolding before him. Strange beings are walking around, casually chatting with one another. Among them are humans with dog faces, girls sporting wings and 3 eyes, and others with snakes for hair. Some individuals are diminutive, resembling mice, while others look like angels soaring through the air. There are humans with bullheads and various other animal features, and even magicians gliding above the ground. Taking in his surroundings, Chan realizes that this area is teemed with all sorts of beings completely unlike the ordinary human he is used to. Just as he begins to process this overwhelming sight, his boss laughs over the phone and reassures him that her earlier comments about different species were merely a joke. She adds in a calm tone that if it were true, it would be quite amusing. Panicking, Chan quickly retreats into the store and shuts the door behind him, his hands shaking with fear. He tells his boss, his voice trembling, her earlier jest about coming from a different world is actually true. With sweat dripping down his face, he admits, I really am someone from a different world. On the other end of the line, his boss, sitting comfortably at home with a packet of chips, has her phone floating in the air beside her. When she hears Chan's revelation, her eyes widen in disbelief. Realizing the gravity of the situation, she stares at the phone, stunned, and asks, what should I do now? Meanwhile, inside the store, Chan suddenly screams, startled by something he sees reflected in the glass of the door. His boss, alarmed, asks, what's wrong? What was that strange sound I just heard? Standing outside is another peculiar figure, a girl whose face is obscured by hair, sporting horns on her head and tiny wings on her shoulders. She presses her hand against the glass, giving Chan a menacing look and flashing a dangerous smile as she commands, open the door. Overwhelmed by her presence, Chan's mouth drops open in shock. He stumbles backward, colliding with the shelf. His boss calls out again, are you all right? What's happening? Chan remains frozen in fear, his gaze fixed on the girl, who is now laughing ominously. He wonders to himself if his boss might also be some kind of otherworldly being. In a moment, the girl pushes the door open and enters the store, casually browsing the items on display. Meanwhile, Chan's boss grows concerned and asks, "Can you hear her?" Noticing his silence, he reassures her, "I'm listening. Continue." She explains, "It seems you somehow crossed over into their world. I don't know why though. I've never experienced anything like this before." As Chan crouches behind the counter, listening intently to his boss while trying to hide from the strange girl, he remains focused. He peeks at her cautiously and tells his boss, "We need to find a way to handle this situation." He asks her, "How should I deal with these different species?" Looking at the girl again, he notices that she is sitting on the floor, laughing in a bizarre manner. Confused, he turns to his boss and describes the unsettling sight, saying the woman customer is laughing like a ghost. Hearing his description, the boss feels a wave of anxiety wash over her. She quickly asks, "What does she look like?" With beads of sweat forming on his forehead, Chan explains she has horns on her head. She had small bat-like wings on her back. Upon hearing this, the boss realized that the figure was indeed a succubus. She reassured him, "They are not particularly dangerous, so you don't need to panic." Meanwhile, the succubus stood up from the floor, tilting her head and brushing her hair away from her face with an air of confidence. Chan glanced at her, now understanding that his assessment had been correct. The boss instructed him, "Look for a curse detector under the counter. It should be eye-catching because of its colorful appearance." Chan nodded in agreement and began rummaging through the boxes beneath the counter. He spotted various items scattered among pencils, papers, and scales. With a nervous expression, he wondered if the curse detector was truly colorful and imagined what shades it might display. Just then, something unexpected brushed against his hand. When he pulled it out, he discovered a toy wand, glowing with a stunning array of colors, its light a powerful pink. Surprised, he called out to his boss, "Is this toy really the curse detector?" She confirmed with a simple yes. Explaining that he's correct, curious, he questions why it looks this way. The boss replies, "People affected by curses often feel depressed and tend to avoid being tested. To lighten their mood, I made the detector colorful." He silently wonders if the bright colors might make them feel even more down. The boss then tells him, "Once you find the detector, you must bring it close to the customer's exposed skin. Press the button and wait for the results." As he agrees to follow her instructions, he suddenly notices the succubus has approached the counter. She is peering at him with an unsettling intensity. Meeting her gaze so closely fills him with fear, and he feels a jolt of shock at her presence. As the succubus casts him a menacing look and opens her mouth to speak, Chan, in a moment of sheer panic, attempts to call the boss. But instead, he quickly points the tool at the customer and presses the button. The boss had assured him that these creatures weren't dangerous, but the situation felt far more threatening than expected. In an instant, a long stick shoots out from the tool, striking the succubus on the head. She recoils and crashes backward onto the floor, sending the coffee cups on the table tumbling as she collides with them. John watches in astonishment as the curse detector's reaction happens before him. The head of the stick resembles a crown, and after making contact, it retracts back into the device as if nothing happened. Now, Chan finds himself crouching beneath the table, worry etched on his face. He gazes at the tool, which continues to emit its beautiful glow. Gathering his courage, he rises and cautiously moves around the table to check on the succubus. As he peers at her, his expression shifts to one of deep concern. She lies motionless, her mouth agape and eyes tightly shut. In a state of panic, he thinks to himself that it appears he has just killed a customer. The boss casually asks him, "Was the customer struck by the curse detector?" He replies in wonder, "It hit her quite hard." She reassures him this is how it's supposed to work, so you don't need to be concerned. However, she quickly asks him, what do the test results indicate? With a nervous expression, he tells her the tool is currently glowing a violet color. She then instructs him to discreetly retrieve the curse remedy from the top row of the gum corner. As he moves toward that area, he spots the items and asks her, "Do you mean the remedy for homesickness located there?" She confirms it and tells him, "Give the customer 2 pills. Feeling somewhat relieved, he asks, "Is the customer indeed suffering from homesickness?" The boss clarifies it's slightly different, but the remedy should have an immediate effect. As he approaches the customer to administer the medicine, he notices she is rising from the ground on her own. She kneels briefly before sitting calmly. Observing her, he thinks in surprise that she is waking up and feels a twinge of guilt. He wonders if she's recalling their first meeting. He decides to keep his distance for now and assess the situation from afar. When he sees her shaking her head in frustration, he calls out to her politely, "Do you feel better now? Take the medicine if you do." The girl looks up at him with an adorable expression, and he thinks she seems to be improving. But just as he inquires again about her condition, she suddenly covers her mouth as if about to be sick. Chan realizes what's happening and calls out for her to wait, but it's too late. She lets out a small scream and vomits onto the floor in front of him. To his shock, the color of her vomit resembles a rainbow. Stunned, he can only stand there, unable to do anything about the situation unfolding before him. After vomiting, the girl's face brightens and she appears genuinely happy, expressing that her heart feels lighter. With a cheerful tone, she comments, "I feel so refreshed." Meanwhile, Chan stands frozen in shock, a wave of frustration washing over him as he realizes he now has to clean up the mess. In a serious tone, he calls out to the customer asking, "Are you finished? Would you like to leave?" She looks at him with her cute, smiling face, winks, and remarks, "It feels chilly." Chan, still feeling exhausted, watches as the customer suddenly spins around and gently collapses back onto the floor. Concerned, he wonders to himself if she's about to fall asleep. And indeed, she does, drifting off comfortably. As she sleeps, bubbles rise from her nose with each breath. Just then, another customer enters the store, calling out for someone in a normal tone. This new customer is also unique. Sporting elf ears, he takes in the scene and raises an eyebrow in surprise. "What is going on?" he asks. Chan, feeling tired, offers a simple welcome. "Are you looking for something?" he inquires. The elf scans the store before asking, "Do you have a 17 degrees blood pack?" He begins to search for the items he needs. Meanwhile, the boss expresses her surprise at the previous girl's behavior. She's an aesthetic customer. She notes, hasn't taken her medicine yet. Chan agrees, mentioning, "I'll give her the remedy once the current customer leaves." The boss assures him, "Take your time. We only handle blood packs below 15 degrees, so you should recommend the elf visit another store." As Chan cleans the vomit from the floor, the boss reminds him, "We also check identification for blood packs." She questions, "Is the new customer a vampire?" In a casual tone, Chan responds while resting his foam on his shoulder, "Maybe he is. Could be a vampire." The boss informs him, vampires have long lifespans and maintain a youthful appearance, so they regularly update their IDs. She warns, some might present expired IDs marked with an X. While those people are adults, she reassures Chan that the convenience store is equipped with alarm magic so he can confidently conduct inspections. Feeling a bit relieved, he nods, understanding the boss's explanations. When the customer returns after gathering his items, he glances at the sleeping woman on the floor and feels a pang of sympathy. As the customer places his items on the counter, Chan addresses him, noting that their store only carries blood packs below 15 degrees and suggests he might need to visit another store. The customer's face flushes with embarrassment as he hands Chan an envelope, stating he will just purchase this. Chan casually informs him that the envelope costs 101 and asks if he needs a bag. The customer politely agrees and adds that he would like a pack of cigarettes as well. Chan turns to him casually, asking what kind of cigarettes he wants. The customer gestures towards the cigarette display, looking flustered, but he doesn't specify a name. Chan picks up a few packs and inquires again about the specific brand. The customer forces a smile, requesting the pack that's currently under Chan's hand. As Chan holds up the cigarette packs, he can't help but notice the customer's unusual demeanor. He wonders if the man resembles someone named Mia. Setting the cigarettes back down, Chan turns to the customer. In a serious tone, he asks him to show his ID. Upon hearing the request, the customer starts to feel anxious. With a forced smile, he claims he is in the process of renewing his ID and admits that he only has expired ones. Chan presses further, "Can I see the expired ID or any other form of identification you might have?" The customer nervously questions, "Does that mean I can't make a purchase without showing my ID?" Chan explains, "It's standard procedure. Without identification, I can't sell you anything." The customer's frustration grows. With a hint of anger, he pulls out his ID card, slamming it onto the counter. He demands, "Check it quickly. My friends are waiting outside." Chan feels a flicker of annoyance at the customer's behavior. As he picks up the card and examines it, he thinks about how similar IDs look across their country. He notices that the card features the customer's photo, with a prominent expired stamp nearby. Just as he reassures himself that the ID appears fine, a strange light begins to emit from beneath the photo. Leaning closer for a better look, Chan wonders aloud what the rainbow light signifies. Upon further inspection, he realizes that the photo isn't securely attached to the card, leaving him even more bewildered. When he pulls the photo out of the ID card, a sudden burst of rainbow light erupts from it, swirling around the room. He watches in shock, bewildered by the phenomenon, and asks, "What's going on?" The light begins to chase after the customer, who, clearly frightened, questions, "Why is it following me?" He bolts through the store, desperately trying to escape the shimmering light, but it continues to follow him. The customer calls out to him, demanding to know what's happening. Chan, still confused, apologizes and explains, "The ID belongs to you, so I have no idea why this is occurring." As the man runs in circles, he shouts for him to put it away, but Chan, baffled, asks, "Where should I place it?" Meanwhile, the woman customer remains blissfully asleep, her face adorably flushed. Suddenly, the photo slips from Chan's grasp and lands near her. As the rainbow light retreats back into the ID, Chan glances down at the picture and is stunned to discover it shows a different person entirely. With rising anger, he calls out to the customer, who is now nervously standing by a shelf. The sticker has come off, he points out, and it appears the ID has changed completely. He sternly comments, "I don't understand why you did this, but this ID is clearly illegal." As he speaks, the man's face begins to sweat with fear. He tries to reassure him, but Chan, undeterred, picks up the phone and presses it to his ear. "Have you heard everything?" he asks, addressing his boss. In response, the boss's voice comes through, filled with anger. "I'll call the police," she declares. Hearing this, the customer's fear escalates. He bolts out of the store, disappearing in an instant. From behind, the boss politely asks Chan, "Can you explain the situation?" Chan calmly agrees and begins to put the goods he had brought back on the shelves. As he works, he recounts the entire incident to the boss, noting that he suspected something was off. It turns out the customer was Abijah. The boss's eyes widen in amazement. She quickly reminds him that this could have become a significant problem. She asks, "How did you figure it out, especially since I didn't hear the store's alarm go off?" Still diligently rearranging items, he explains, "The customer handed me a fake ID with a sticker on it." The boss is taken aback. "A sticker?" she asks. "Is it some kind of magic?" He confirms, detailing how the customer had forged the ID by attaching his own photo to it. "When I peeled off the sticker, it triggered some kind of magic associated with the ID." With a puzzled expression, the boss asks, "You truly recognize the forgery with just your naked eyes?" He simply replies, "I've seen similar things before." Meanwhile, a phone floats in the air in front of her as she sits at home. She comments in surprise, "It's quite difficult to detect. IDs in our world have tight security, making forgery and tampering extremely challenging. The forgers in this line of work are exceptionally skilled, adept at illusion magic, which makes them hard to identify without the right tools." As Chan puts the goods back in their places, he is taken aback and asks, "Is it genuinely that difficult?" The boss acknowledges, while the store's alarm magic tends to lean toward the dark side, if it doesn't go off, it usually indicates no issue. She's baffled by how he managed to recognize the forgery at all. Realizing it must have been illusion magic, Chan recalls the customer's image and wonders, was that vampire really such a formidable figure? He dismisses the thought, noting ironically, even the forger seemed flustered. With a polite but confused expression, he contemplates the situation. Just then, the boss calmly suggests we should terminate our part-time contract. Chan's eyes widen in shock at her question, utterly taken aback. In a polite tone, he asks her, "Have I made any mistakes?" She calmly assures him, "You haven't done anything wrong. In fact, you're doing great." She explains, "You're from another world and accidentally came to ours." And she was just worried it might be terrifying and difficult for him. He responds, "I'm perfectly fine. It isn't particularly scary or challenging for me." He expresses his desire to continue working at the store and asks, "Is that possible?" Hearing this, her eyes widened in surprise. Chan thinks to himself that it's clear she genuinely cares about him. It is indeed a situation worth worrying about, but he also realizes that he must keep this job. Suddenly, thoughts of his credit card bill, insurance premium, monthly rent, emergency fund loan, and cell phone bill flood his mind. The realization makes him anxious. He thinks that if he quits this part-time job, he'll have to live like a beggar starting next month. In a rush, he calls the boss and insists, "You must allow me to continue working here." The boss agrees but warns him in a louder voice, "Don't be nonsense in the future." Hearing her loud voice on the phone, he winces and instinctively pulls the phone away from his ear. He quickly assures her, everything is fine. Then, in a polite tone, he asks, "Can we continue our conversation today?" She responds enthusiastically, saying that it's great and that she was thinking the same thing. Suddenly, she remembers something and asks, "Have you given the succubus customer her medicine yet?" Chan realizes he hasn't done that yet. He moves toward the sleeping customer, assuring the boss, "I'll take care of it right away." He picks up the medicine, sits closer to the customer, and gently places it in her mouth while she sleeps soundly, her mouth slightly open. After administering the medicine, he watches her face, curious for any signs of a reaction. He reports to the boss, "I've given her the medicine, but so far, there's been no response." The boss recalls something and tells him, "Since you've given her the medicine, she will regain her senses soon." Meanwhile, when the customer shifts her body to the side, the boss cautions Chan, "Be careful, she might feel nauseous." Chan reassures her that he understands, but in truth, he is astonished by the customer. He worries that she might slip back into the dangerous state she was in when she first arrived at the store. The boss asked him, "Do you think the customer feels dizzy or a bit fuzzy?" He replies calmly, "I don't believe she feels that way." The boss nods, understanding his response. As she listens, she suggests you might want to check for curses again using the curse detection device. He agrees and moves towards the counter, retrieving the device once more. However, when he tries to press the button, the device begins to whistle and make a loud noise instead of turning on. Confused, he informs the boss it won't power up. It's just making noise. With a serious expression, he questions, is the customer's condition worsening? The boss reassures him it's not a matter of bad health. She adds, but the customer seems to be in a very special and peculiar state. Just as they are discussing this, the entire convenience store suddenly begins to shake. Chan quickly ducks down on the counter, stunned by the unexpected movement. With a worried expression, he asks, what is happening? Thoughts race through his mind as he wonders if it's meteorites falling from the sky. Confused and alarmed, he dashes outside to investigate. When he opens the store's door and steps outside, he is surprised to see a pile of boxes stacked in front of him. Sweat beads form on his forehead as he wonders about the source of all these packages. Just then, a voice calls out to him, announcing that the delivery has arrived. Looking up, he is even more astonished to see a flying horse hovering above him, with a blue-haired girl sitting atop it. The girl greets him with a bright smile. Are you the new part-timer that my sister mentioned? She asks. She happily expresses, it's nice to meet you. As the horse lands gracefully on the street, Chan feels a wave of nervousness wash over him. He asks the girl to hold on for a moment and quickly puts his phone back to his ear. In a state of disbelief, he informs the boss. Someone is riding a Pegasus and has arrived with a delivery. He asks, is this the logistics you mentioned before leaving? The boss quickly understands the situation and replies, I did indeed tell Yuna that she could handle the delivery today. Upon hearing the name, Chan feels a wave of confusion wash over him. Just then, the delivery girl chimes in from behind, cutely announcing, Siu Yuna is my name. She steps in front of him and introduces herself. Thoroughly. Chan's eyes widen in surprise as Yuna picks up some of the boxes from her back. Flashing a charming smile, she asks, do you know enough about me now? Could you step aside so I can bring the boxes into the store? Quickly, Chan moves back, clearing the way for her to enter. Yuna thanks him for his consideration. As Chan opens the store's door, she hands him a piece of paper, politely asking, could you check the items and sign for them? He readily agrees. After placing all the boxes inside, Yuna exclaims with delight, I've finished my deliveries. Meanwhile, Chan nervously puts his phone back to his ear and tells the boss, I'm unfamiliar with the written language in this world. How should I confirm the ordered items? As he approaches the area where the female customer is still sleeping, the boss reassures him, I'll discuss it with Yuna. For now, just handle the signature. Chan agrees but then asks, what items have arrived? The boss calmly replies, they consist of snacks and drinks. Suddenly, she recalls something else and informs him dragon scales have also arrived. Chan's eyes widen in surprise at the mention of dragons. The boss, noticing his reaction, politely explained, I thought we wouldn't be able to get them, but Yuna managed to find a source. She added cheerfully, we won't have to worry about sales for a while. Dwarves and merchants buy dragon scales in bulk if you break them apart and polish them. She then mentioned the scales are primarily used for jewelry. Suddenly realizing something, she paused and asked with curiosity, wait, are there no dragons in your world? Chan responded in a simple yet exhausted tone, dragons can't exist there. There's no magic or mythical species. The boss was amazed by this revelation. She remarked, your world seems even more backward than our own rural one. Chan quickly requested, please don't compare other people's worlds to the countryside. As he conversed with the boss, he noticed the woman customer beginning to regain consciousness. He glanced over just in time to see her sitting up from the floor, looking sleepy. Feeling somewhat relaxed, he commented, the customer has finally opened her eyes. He tells her that he will calculate the bill now that she's awake. Just as he says this, the succubus customer softly speaks, calling him boss and asking, what is love? She appears to be in a playful, dreamy mood. Glancing at her, Chan quickly urges the boss to call a taxi immediately, insisting, we need to send this customer home safely. The boss agrees, and before long, a taxi arrives at the store. Chan gently guides the customer outside, supporting her by the shoulder to keep her steady. He calmly helps her into the taxi and hands her a bag. At this point, she remains in a drowsy, cute state with her eyes closed. Chan leans closer and politely hands her a card and a receipt, explaining that the receipt is for the medicine she had taken earlier. The girl smiles softly, taking both items in her delicate hand. Chan reminds her to hold on to them carefully, cautioning, you might lose them if you aren't careful. As they chat, the taxi driver, whose face resembles a rabbit, asks Chan if the customer has been drinking, noting that she seems a bit out of it. Chan replies that he believes she may be under some kind of magical curse, but reassures him, now that she has taken the medicine, she should be fine. However, the driver mentions that she still seems uneasy. Chan chuckles lightly, reassuring him, be careful with her. At that moment, the girl turns to Chan and asks again, "What is love?" Surprised, he looks at her, noticing her serious tone and polite expression. She comments, "Even when you think you understand, it remains elusive." When she presses him for an answer, he replies with words that resonate with him. "It's something I want but can't have." The girl's eyes widen in shock at his response. She gazes at him in surprise. He meets her look with a neutral expression. Suddenly, she leans her head out of the taxi, asking him with a lovely expression, "What do you mean by that?" Feeling nervous about his own words, Chan gently pushes her back into the taxi. "Forget what I just said." After that somewhat cute moment, the succubus customer leaves. Chan stands behind her, feeling exhausted. He comments to himself that meeting was unpleasant. "I hope we won't have to see each other again." He stretches his arms tiredly and heads back to the store. Thinking it will be quieter now, he walks back into the convenience store. He notices Yuna, her expression clouded with worry. She is holding her head in frustration, deep in thought. Confused by her demeanor, he wonders what could be troubling her. He decides to ask her directly. "Yuna, what's wrong?" he asks gently. Yuna looks up at him, her gaze serious. She calls his name politely, then says, "Could you inform my sister that I'll be taking the dragon's scales away again?" Chan frowns, not understanding the situation. "Why do you want to do that?" he asks. Yuna replies, "There's a problem with the dragon scales." After a moment, Chan stands at the counter, silently watching her. She's talking on the phone with her sister, and the conversation stretches on for a while. He starts to worry. The issue might be serious. Memories of his past part-time job as a server flood his mind. Moments when he saw the boss and a delivery guy argue over spoiled ingredients. Still watching Yuna, he reminds himself that this isn't his fault. He's just a part-timer. His role, he decides, is simple: to observe. Like a meerkat, while the higher-ups handle the situation and focus on his own tasks, lost in his thoughts, he is suddenly jolted back to reality when Yuna looks at him with a serious expression. She approaches him and asks, "Is your name Lee Chan?" Nervously, he replies, "Yes." She then smiles and informs him that her sister wants to talk to him. As she says this, she shows him the video call where her sister, the boss of the convenience store, appears on the screen. The boss waves at Chan with a cheerful expression, and he is taken aback by her reaction. In a straightforward manner, she asks, "Can you and Yuna check the condition of the dragon scales together?" Still feeling nervous, he agrees to the boss's request. Yuna smiles and assures him, "I'm ready as well." Together, they make their way toward the door leading to the basement of the store. As they descend the stairs, Chan looks around in surprise, noting how strange the area appears. He glances at the walls and wonders to himself if this is really part of a convenience store. The space is vast, resembling an old-fashioned corridor, and several doors line the walls. He finds himself perplexed, questioning why the storage area feels more like a dungeon than a typical storage room. Noticing his bewilderment, Yuna casually asks, "Is this your first time seeing such a storage area?" With wide eyes, he nods and confirms, "Yes, it is indeed my first experience." As they continue down the corridor, she flashes him an encouraging smile and laughs lightly. "You'll get used to it quickly," she assures him. "I felt the same way when I first encountered it." Meanwhile, the boss remains on the video call as Chan holds the phone. In a teasing tone, Yuna calls out to her, "I told you before that your taste is unique." The boss, slightly annoyed, responds, "How I decorate the convenience store is entirely up to me. I can do whatever I like." However, Yuna counters, "There should be some limits. The interior is truly weird." Upon hearing her comment, the boss makes a playful, childish face on the video call, teasingly asking, "Are you planning to keep poking fun at me?" Meanwhile, Chan and Yuna arrive at a dimly lit room. Chan looks around, trying to make sense of his surroundings. As he begins to move forward, Yuna suddenly halts him. She points out that the area ahead is dirty and instructs him to stay back for a moment. She also mentions that it's a bit brighter in another direction. He nods in agreement and steps back to let her pass. As she moves ahead, Chan addresses the boss in a casual tone. "She asked me to take a look, and now I'm here in the warehouse," he explains. However, he politely inquires, "Is there anything I can actually do?" The boss thinks for a moment, then calmly responds, "Follow her instructions for now. I have a plan in mind." Chan agrees and steps forward to follow her guidance, leading himself to a peculiar room. Upon entering, he notices the space is cluttered with boxes. A strange blue liquid covers the floor, creating a messy environment. The viscous substance clings to the ceiling, floor, and all the boxes in the room. As he concentrates on the scene, he realizes the liquid is continuously oozing from an odd-looking container. The container seems to be expelling it. Staring at the chaotic scene before him, he is left in shock. As he cautiously steps forward, the boss girl casually asks, "Don't you think this situation is a bit extreme?" Surprised by her nonchalant tone, he exclaims, "It's not just a bit." He then questions, "What are those muddy dark lumps?" Meanwhile, Yuna stands calmly beside a pillar. The boss explains that liquid is pus, a result of contaminated magical power. She adds, if the dragon scale purification process isn't done correctly, this is what they end up with. Chan glances at Yuna, his expression anxious. He asks, is that large container resembling a turtle shell? Is that a dragon scale? Yuna confirms with a steady voice. Looking closely at the dragon scale, Yuna explains, I heard that the scales shed by dragons who recently moved to the countryside were being neglected. That's what prompted me to bring them here in a hurry. She sighs, admitting, but my haste and failing to entrust the task to the right company led to this mess. With a glimmer of hope, she continues, it isn't too severe yet. If we purify it quickly and scrape off the surrounding pus, we might still be able to use it. But suddenly, she holds her head in frustration. Feeling anxious about the situation, Chan realizes it is already the middle of the night and the company is closed. Glancing at the clock, Chan notes the time, 3:12 a.m. As he takes in the chaotic scene, the boss girl's voice cuts through the phone call. This is why I need your help, she explains. Surprised, he asked for clarification. With a polite smile, she confirms it, then playfully adds, would you like to touch this strange slime? At her words, a bead of sweat trickles down his forehead, his eyes widening in disbelief. The boss girl calls for Yuna, who casually scoops up some of the shimmering slime in her hand and presents it to Chan with a cheerful smile. Go ahead, try it, Yuna encourages. Staring at the substance in astonishment, Chan feels even more uneasy. The boss girl tries to reassure him. It's just a touch. It won't be dangerous, she insists. She expresses her confidence in him, but with rising anxiety, counters whatever it is, it still shouldn't be touched carelessly. What if it makes me unwell? In a straightforward manner, the boss girl offers him 100,000 won if he dares to touch it. The mention of money shifts Chan's perspective. Without hesitation, he accepts the offer. The boss girl beams with happiness at his agreement. Motivated by the prospect of earning 100,000, Chan musters his courage. His hand trembles with sweat as he reaches out to touch the gooey substance. Observing him, Yuna thinks to herself how simple this kid is. However, just as he is about to make contact, the pus suddenly retracts, sliding away from Yuna's hand. Chan stares, bewildered by the movement. Still holding his phone, he turns to the boss girl and asks in shock, is this substance alive? The boss girl assures him there's nothing to worry about. It's merely a clump of magical power. However, Yuna, wearing a surprised expression, points out, it seems like the puss is trying to avoid you. The boss, adopting a serious tone, orders him, just touch it and ignore everything else. He nods in agreement and quickly presses his hand against the pus. Suddenly, strange lights begin to emanate from the substance. Both Chan and Yuna's eyes widen in astonishment at the unexpected reaction. When Chan pulls his hand away, the pus transforms into a beautiful stone right before their eyes. Stunned, he asks, what just happened? Yuna, placing her hand on his shoulder with excitement, exclaims, it's exactly as my sister predicted. With a joyful smile, she calls out to the boss girl, informing her, the substance has been purified just as you said. The boss girl, still looking astonished, cautions them it's too early to celebrate. She asked him, could you try using the magic wand on the stone? He readily agrees and retrieves the wand tool. As he places the wand against the stone, he notices there's no reaction. He turns to the boss girl, voicing his concern, is this normal? She confirms, yes, it is. She explains the lack of response indicates there is no contaminated magical power for it to detect. This kind of reaction shows that the purification process was completed successfully. With a serious expression, the boss girl comments, my earlier assessment was correct. She tells him, from what I can see, you might possess an anti-magic constitution. Confused, he asks her to explain what that means. Yuna chimes in cutely, clarifying that it simply refers to a body on which magic doesn't work. The boss girl confirms her explanation and asks, can we have a private conversation for a moment? He agrees, turning off the phone speaker and leaning slightly to the side for a more discreet chat. In a polite tone, the boss asks, do you remember the earlier test we conducted on your body? He recalls the moment he first used the curse detector tool and responds, it made a loud noise. She explains there are only two scenarios in which such a reaction occurs. The first is when there is absolutely no magical power present, which in our world would be incredibly dangerous. However, she adds, since Chan is from another world, that point is irrelevant. Her expression brightens as she reveals a second possibility is that the tester didn't function due to resistance magic. Curious, he inquires, what's resistance magic? She affirms, I believe this case fits you better, which is why I asked you to examine the dragon's scales with Yuna. In a straightforward tone, she explains, I'll provide more details once Yuna leaves, as it's a bit challenging to discuss at the moment. Listening to all this, he begins to grasp the situation and simply agrees with her. Though he still feels confused about the specifics of what she's saying, he worries about the implications of possibly having a magic-resistant constitution. Standing in the corner, he thinks it feels as if he's the protagonist in a drama, discovering a secret about his origins. Lost in his thoughts, he suddenly notices Yena approaching him from behind. In an unexpected move, she steps closer and leans against the wall, encircling him with her arms. This behavior sends a wave of nervousness through him, and his eyes widen in shock. With a polite tone, she tells him she has a favor to ask and wonders if he would listen. With a trembling voice, he asks her what the favor is. Yuna responds with a sweet smile, requesting his help in purifying the dragon scales. She adds that she's asking this as a personal favor. Feeling a mix of embarrassment and disbelief, he asks her if she genuinely wants him to do this. She responds affirmatively, saying she believes he can handle it, just as he contemplates pushing back. The boss girl calls out to him. When he glances at her, she gives him a cute, polite look with wide, childish eyes. Her expression seems to silently ask if he's really going to make her handle the purification herself. Turning to Yuna, he sees a similar hopeful smile, and he feels the weight of their expectations. Overwhelmed by their intense gazes, he feels frustrated. He thinks that it is too much, and he also finds himself caught in the charm of both their faces. With a puzzled mind, he ultimately agrees. "I'll do it," he says, asking for instructions on how to proceed. Hearing this, Yuna beams with happiness and thanks him, her smile radiant. The boss girl expresses her gratitude as well, saying the process is simple. Yuna steps closer to the dragon scales, winks at him, and cheerfully tells him, "You just need to put your arm into the hole." Chan stares at the opening with a look of despair, hesitant about what he's being asked to do. Yuna urges him again, insisting, "Just come and put your arm in." However, he again refuses, commenting, "I'm not ready to do it just yet." She then asked him curiously, why has his enthusiasm suddenly changed? As he voices his concerns, he insists to both of them, "It seems too dangerous to insert my arm into the hole." The boss girl reassures him, explaining that he has a special body, so nothing is likely to go wrong. It will only be for a moment, she tells him. "You'll be safe." However, Chan still wears a hesitant expression and declines, apologizing. I simply lack the courage," he admits. In truth, he isn't actually worried about his arm. He just wants a little extra bonus. The boss girl quickly picks up on his hesitation and, with a smile, calls his attention back to the phone. When he looks at her, she flashes him some additional cash and mentions, "If everything goes smoothly, I'll give you a bonus." This catches Chan's interest immediately. Eager for the extra money, he hands the phone to Yuna, quickly rolls up his sleeve, and, with newfound determination, declares, "It's nothing for me. I'm willing to give it a try." As Yuna holds the phone to her ear, she cheerfully promises, "If it hurts, I'll scream." The boss girl reassures them once again nothing harmful will happen. Taking a deep breath, Chan steps closer to the dragon scales, focusing on the gap where he is about to place his arm. Looking more closely, he realizes the opening is even more unsettling than he had first imagined. Still, he reminds himself that he needs the reward and steadies his resolve. With determination, he directs his hand toward the gap. In his mind, he promises to push through for the bonus, closes his eyes, and thrusts his hand inside. At that moment, an unusual force sweeps over him from behind. "Are you okay?" "Yes," her concern evident. Surprised, he replies, "I'm fine, but there's a strange suction pulling me in." Alarmed, Yuna quickly says, "I'll pull you out right away." She grabs hold of him firmly and starts pulling back. As they struggle against the pull, a faint glow begins to emanate from the gap. Chan notices something being drawn inside, and suddenly, a blinding light bursts forth from the opening, illuminating the entire room. In that instant, Chan's arm is expelled from the hole, and both he and Yuna tumble backward. As they fall, the dragon's scale shifts back into place, mirroring how the pus had previously transformed into stone. Chan sits up on the ground, feeling utterly exhausted. He glances around, bewildered by the chaos that has just happened, reflecting on the madness of his first day on the job. As he contemplates the chaotic events, he suddenly hears Yana call out to him in a shaky voice, sounding a bit uncomfortable. It takes him a moment to realize that he is sitting on her. Alarmed, he quickly shifts to the side. "I'm so sorry," he says, apologizing profusely. "Are you hurt anywhere?" Still lying on the floor, she reassures him. "I'm okay, but are you in pain?" They both sit up. He assures her that he feels fine. "Thank you for saving me from that fall," he adds, his voice filled with gratitude. Looking into her eyes, she suggests we should check the dragon scales. He nods in agreement, retrieves the tool once more, and moves closer to the hole in the scales, which is now completely sealed as he places the tool against it. It emits a soft beep. He glances back at Yuna, noting the lack of reaction, just like with the stone earlier. Her face lights up with excitement. "It's a success," she announces. Overwhelmed, he thanks her, feeling a flush of warmth spread across his cheeks. She explains, "You prevented a loss of tens of millions of one." After sharing this moment of relief, they exit the area and find themselves at the entrance of the convenience store. Yana mounts her flying horse once again. Great work. She compliments him. I've already contacted my sister to let her know the job was handled well. She assures him, don't worry, there won't be any issues with deliveries for the next few days. Standing calmly, he questions her, so you won't be coming every day? With a confident smile, she explains, managing deliveries involving magical creatures is a bit complicated. It takes time. He calls her name, Yana. Take care on your way. Upon hearing his words, she quickly shifts her tone. Drop the formalities, she says. Stunned, Chen asks, what do you mean? She explains, my sister. The boss of the convenience store mentioned that he is a year younger than her. She says, this is why you should stop being so formal and simply call me Nuna. With a blush creeping onto his face, he replies, I'll try to do so. She then puts on her glasses, gives him a playful smile, wishes him well, and takes off on her flying horse. As she flies away, Chan watches her with a sense of calm. Just then, he notices the sun beginning to rise again. In a soft tone, he comments to himself, it's morning already. He returns to the counter, where a customer approaches with a few items, including toothbrushes and drinks, placing them on the counter. The customer has a dog-like face and hurriedly asks, can you quickly tell me the total cost? He glances outside and emphasizes, I need to be fast. I have a bus to catch soon. Chan starts tallying the items on the computer and informs the customer. The total comes to 9,801. He then asks, would you like a bag? The customer swiftly places a 10,001 note on the counter, telling him, keep the change. Chan nods in agreement as the customer quickly gathers his items and leaves. Once the first customer has gone, Chan calls for the next one. A new customer approaches, his face blue, wearing a cap and accompanied by a baby. After a while, Chan serves several more customers. He glances at the clock, muttering to himself that he feels dead tired. It's been a long night. He's so sleepy that it feels like he could fall asleep on the spot. Chan takes his seat and checks his phone. There's a message from the manager. She asks, aren't you feeling sleepy? Chan replies, I'm okay. The manager acknowledges how hard he worked on the purification task. She reassures him, saying, when I get to work, I'll give you the cash right away. Chan expresses his gratitude, but she follows up with, are you really not feeling sleepy? I thought you'd be tired after staying up all night. As they converse, Chan senses someone entering the store. He greets the newcomer. However, when he looks toward the door, he's surprised and confused. There's nobody there. He wonders if the potential customer decided to leave without coming inside. He responds to the manager, I usually don't sleep much at night anyway. The manager reacts with surprise, commenting that it's not good for his health and suggesting that he should get proper sleep. She asks, should I brew you a sleep potion? Chan looks at her curiously and inquires, do you really know how to make one? She replies confidently, of course I do. I'm quite a capable magician. As he types out a response, he marvels at the thought that he never imagined he'd receive a magic potion in his life. Suddenly, he hears someone calling him. Who's there? He asks, standing up to look forward. He sees a pair of horns and notices someone much smaller than the counter. It's the customer, a little girl with horns on her head and wings on her shoulders. She looks up at him with a cute expression. Do you have any colored paper? She asks. He asks the little girl, do you need confirmation? She replies affirmatively, yes, and do you have scissors as well? Chan gestures toward the top shelf and politely tells her both items are up there. He notes they're too high for you to reach though. I can get them for you. The little girl bows her head respectfully and says, it's okay. Thank you for showing me where they are. As she moves forward, Chan watches her in surprise. He notices her determination as she tries to pull down the items she wants from the top shelf. He reflects on how mature yet pale she seems. He wonders if he should take a closer look, pondering to himself whether she might be some sort of reptile. As she continues to struggle to reach the top shelf, pushing herself up but ultimately failing, her expression shifts to sadness. Tears well up in her eyes. Immediately, Chan rushes to her side, pulling down the colored paper and scissors. He sits beside her and, with a warm smile, hands her the items. Here are the colored paper and scissors, he gently says. With a sad yet adorable expression, she thanks him and takes the items from his hands. Chan stands up, reassuring himself that she won't unleash a breath attack if she's indeed a reptile species. He also realizes it would be troublesome if she accidentally destroyed the store. The little girl glances at the colored paper and scissors, then calls out to him in a polite tone. Holding up the scissors, she explains that she can't buy them. Confused, Chan looks at her. He asked her about the reason. She replies, I only have 5.01, making me 101 short. Chan assures her, the total for both items is 510.01. I can cover the extra 101 for you. However, she looks around, quickly declines his offer, and says, my mom told me not to take money from others. Understanding her situation, Chan asks, what do you need the colored paper and scissors for? She explains Mother's Day is coming up, and I want to give my mom a present. Looking at the colored paper with a hint of sadness, she continues, I just learned about Mother's Day in kindergarten. My mom always buys me a gift for Children's Day, but I've never given her anything for Mother's Day. I really want to make this special. Listening to her, Chan feels a wave of sadness wash over him. He gently addresses her, You're just a kid. You can still do origami without scissors. In response, she holds out her small hands, tears welling up in her eyes, and says, My hands are like this. Concerned, Chan asks, What's wrong with your hands? When she exerts some force, her fingers suddenly sharpen, catching Chan off guard. She politely explains that if she uses too much strength, the paper will tear. Chan thinks to himself that she might unintentionally damage other things with those sharper fingers. Seeing her still sorrowful expression, he realizes that, given her condition, origami would be quite challenging. Even if he keeps offering to pay the extra 101, she would likely refuse out of determination. It seems like this gift for her mother is incredibly important to her. With this in mind, he kindly asks if he can lend her the scissors. She brightens at the suggestion, and they both sit down at the table. Chan then hands her some flower templates, encouraging her to try sticking the colored paper onto them. As she watches the shapes of the flowers, her eyes light up with amazement as she thanks him for his generous help. While he sits with her, he reflects on how this situation has escalated into a bigger issue. He considers 3 problems: the burden of development falling on the leader, the child struggling to create something, and the impending deadline of leaving work at 10 o'clock a.m. He thinks that it is unnecessary for a child to go to such lengths. Closing his eyes, he worries about what he should say to the manager when she arrives. Suddenly, the little girl hops down from her chair and asks him to wait a moment. Chan watches as she searches one of the shelves. A moment later, she pulls out a chocolate bar and holds it up, asking him about its price. It costs 2,001, he tells her. Do you plan to buy it? She nods, responding with a simple yes. He informs her that he will make a bill for her, and they both make their way to the counter where she places the 2,001 on the surface. He smiles, confirming that she'd enjoy her treat now. Despite this, she still looks a bit glum. Puzzled, Chan watches as she breaks the chocolate bar in half, offering him one of the pieces. We should eat it together while we work on the project, she insists. At that moment, Chan feels a wave of surprise wash over him. He smiles at the little girl and gently tells her that he appreciates her thoughtfulness, but the chocolate is her snack. You should keep the larger piece for yourself, he insists. With her cute, innocent expression, she counters that he is bigger than her and adds, My mother says too much chocolate will rot your teeth. Her words warm his heart. He can't help but think about his own teeth. Once again, she calls him Mr. and insists, We should share the chocolate together. With a grin, he agrees and takes a piece from her. Just then, the manager walks back into the convenience store, her face bright with a smile. She cheerfully calls out, Good morning, noting that he must be tired from working overnight. However, when she spots Chan sitting at the table with the little girl, her surprise is evident. Feeling a bit anxious, Chan returns her greeting. He stands up from his chair and approaches her with a puzzled expression. She asks about the girl. He explains calmly, There was no log for handing over the shift, and that's why I ended up lending the store's scissors to the child. He quickly apologizes, adding, The girl didn't have enough money to buy them, and I thought it would be quick work, but it ended up taking longer than I anticipated. The manager nods in understanding, assuring him, It's fine. However, she then inquires if the child seemed particularly shy. Chan responds thoughtfully, suggesting that perhaps children of that age are naturally shy. With a serious expression, the manager agrees, but adds that this child is from a very unique species. She reveals that the girl is a dragon, a pure-blooded dragon to be precise. As she explains, he listens intently. She describes how dragon organs undergo a growth period of 3 years while still in egg before they hatch. During this time, certain physical features, such as their horns and organs that detect magical power, develop. She elaborates that while adult dragons have no issues with this process, young dragons often struggle. Curious, Chan asks why it is so challenging. The manager continues, explaining that young dragons perceive others' magical powers as colors through their horns. However, since they are still developing, they have difficulty controlling this ability. She points out that many young dragons unconsciously detect magic, which can lead to awkward or dangerous situations. The manager emphasizes that this particular child lacks the life experience to understand or navigate the negative perceptions associated with these colors. She adds that if she isn't careful, the young dragon could find herself in dangerous situations. This is why the ability to discern good from bad comes with one's own life experiences. Upon hearing this, Chan asks, Do you mean it's dangerous for young dragons because they lack the ability to discern character? He adds, A pleasing appearance doesn't necessarily indicate a good person. With a smile, she confirms his insight. Exactly. This is why shy parent dragons are particularly cautious with their offspring, she explains. Pure-blooded dragons receive even stricter guidance. As they continue their conversation, the little girl suddenly calls out to Chan from behind them. Both adults turn to see her beaming with joy. With a cute grin, she proudly displays the flowers she has created and announces, "I'm finished." However, as the manager approaches with an enthusiastic expression, praising her work, the little girl quickly sidesteps and hides behind Chan. Appearing frightened, the little girl hesitates. Understanding her apprehension, the manager kneels down to the child's level and speaks reassuringly. "Hiding like this during the day will help keep you safe," the manager says softly. The manager gently addresses the little girl, explaining that Chan needs to head home now since he worked all night and must get some sleep. "Maybe you could come back later," she suggests kindly. Hearing this, the little girl's expression dims. She looks up at Chan, who offers her a warm smile. "You can leave your creations here," Chan reassures her, "and come back to pick them up whenever you have time in the morning." With a polite but sad expression, she asks, "Is that really possible?" The manager brightens up, confirming, "You can visit anytime." Chan encourages her, "Come back whenever you like," prompting a cheerful smile from the little girl. "Thank you, mister," she says sweetly. She then turns to the manager, expressing her gratitude. "Thank you, madam," she adds politely. Both Chan and the manager are taken aback by her respectful demeanor. With a radiant smile, the manager steps closer and says, "You can call me sister instead." The little girl happily agrees, calling her sister as well. Observing this interaction, Chan thinks there's no need to discuss age with the manager anymore. After the little girl leaves the store, both Chan and the manager wave goodbye to her from inside. Once the door is locked, the manager turns to Chan and comments, "Now that the girl is gone, perhaps it's time to get you ready to head home." She steps forward, looking a bit confused, and instructs him, "Open the drawer." Chan asks, "Which drawer should I open?" She points out the specific location, indicating that he needs to open the one in the front. He nods in agreement and moves toward it, still puzzled about what she has in mind. As he opens the drawer, he's taken aback to find a magical globe sitting inside, accompanied by a keyboard. The manager explains, "This is a magic item known as a teleportation machine, designed to move our store to various locations." Chan gazes at it in awe, commenting, "It resembles a blend of magic and advanced technology from the future." The manager, wearing a proud expression, tells him, "I crafted it myself, making it the store's exclusive teleportation device." However, she warns him to handle it with care, cautioning that it shouldn't be touched recklessly. She explains that she has designated specific areas where their store can operate, but warns that if he touches it incorrectly, it could transport them to a new location immediately. Furthermore, if that happens, every product on display will change as well, so he needs to be cautious. Chan nods in understanding and assures her that he'll keep that in mind. The manager smiles at him and adds that the device is easy to use. All he has to do is input his home address into the display window. He glances at the keyboard again and asks, "Do I really need to type it in there?" She confirms this, but adds with a serious expression, "If I attempt it, we might not end up teleporting to our own world." Chan immediately apologizes and inquires, "Why can't you do it yourself, even though you created this device?" She reflects on her past teleportation experiences, recalling places like the pasta restaurant and the beautiful flower garden. With clarity, she explains, "For teleportation magic, having precise information about the destination and a strong will are essential." This means that if someone has never been to a particular place or lacks the determination to go there, the teleportation simply won't occur. Chan realizes that this implies the machine can take him anywhere, provided he meets those conditions. The manager cheerfully adds, "Since I know nothing about your world, it would be futile for me to attempt it." She emphasizes, "You know your world best, so you should be the one to do it." He comprehends her point and gazes at the magical globe, commenting seriously, "Although you refer to it as magic, you mentioned earlier that magic doesn't affect my physical constitution." Even when purifying the dragon's scale, he expresses doubt that anything will happen. Feeling disheartened, he stands still. Just then, the manager calls out to him. Meeting her gaze, she reassures him, "You don't need to worry. All you have to do is trust me and give it a try." With a cute smile, she adds, "Everything will definitely work out well." Chan, feeling encouraged, agrees with her. He then focuses on the magical globe, thinking that the manager isn't the type to put him in a tricky situation. He double checks with her, asking if all he needs to do is enter his home address. With a bright smile, she confirms this and tells him to think about his desire to return home. Whether the memories are good or bad, if he wishes for it strongly, it will be possible. After absorbing all the explanations, Chan closes his eyes, types his home address into the keyboard, and focuses on his desire to return home. He imagines various scenes from his past, reflecting on how it was a cruel world where he was betrayed by the company he used to work for. Yet there were moments of happiness. He recalls the fun times spent hanging out with friends during his youth, finding it all quite ironic. In the blink of an eye, the manager calls out to him in a polite tone. As he opens his eyes and looks at her, she gestures toward the door with an excited expression, encouraging him to go outside and check. He quickly stands up, glances at the door, and asks her, somewhat confused, did it really work? She replies that she isn't certain, which is why she's urging him to look. Agreeing, Chan strides toward the door. With curiosity bubbling inside him, he reaches for the handle and opens it. Stepping outside and glancing around, he is taken aback. Exclaiming in surprise, he says, it truly is my neighborhood. Amazed, he thinks about how he can't believe he teleported to another world in just a few seconds. As he revels in his newfound happiness, the manager steps outside and remarks, this clarifies a few things. He looks at her in confusion and apologizes, asking, what do you mean? Flashing him a sweet smile, she explains, it's now evident that your physical constitution can be influenced by your will. She prompts him to recall what he was thinking while purifying the dragon scale. Chan replies, I hoped it would be successfully purified. The manager continues, stating, if magic had no effect on your physical constitution, the magic within the scales would have likely been destroyed, rendering them useless. However, since you were able to purify it, I believe your intention to do so was reflected in your physical state. Stunned by her words, Chan nervously asks, so, you based your request on just your hypothesis. She responds with a relaxed and pleased demeanor. She confirms, explaining that otherwise it would have resulted in a product that wouldn't be usable. She assures him that the conclusion is that it is indeed possible to control his physical condition through his will. She also speculates that this ability might be connected to why he found his way to her convenience store in the first place. She mentions that she needs to observe more to understand the situation in detail, and asks if Chan is curious about anything else. Running a hand through his hair, he declines with a weary sigh. The manager nods in understanding, adding that she has no further questions either. With a cheerful smile, she hands him an envelope filled with money and a small bottle of potion, encouraging him to take them and clock out for the day. Afterward, Chan returns to his room in his own world. As he steps inside and takes in his surroundings, a sense of comfort washes over him. He thinks to himself that although it is a narrow, small, and old one-room apartment, it truly is the place where he used to live. Feeling tired, he realizes that he needs to work tonight as well, so he decides to set an alarm in advance. Suddenly, he remembers the small bottle the manager had given him earlier. He pulls it out, examines it closely, and recalls her words that drinking this potion would make him fall asleep instantly. He hadn't truly believed she had made it for him, but now he wonders if it will actually be effective. After setting his alarm for 9:30 a.m. on his phone, he climbs into bed, takes the potion, and thinks with hope that since the manager created it herself, it should definitely work. Without much trust in her, he drinks the potion, though he worries he won't stay asleep if he doesn't hear the alarm. Moments later, time seems to pass in the blink of an eye. When he finally hears the alarm blaring, his eyes snap open. He quickly grabs his phone, silences the alarm, and glances at the screen. Noticing that the time reads exactly 9:31 a.m., he can't help but comment on how effective it really is. After some time, he gets ready for work and steps out of his apartment. As he walks through the streets, he scratches his arms and remarks to himself how well he slept thanks to the sleeping potion. However, a wave of confusion washes over him as he wonders if his visit to the convenience store was real. He mentions that since he has tangible evidence, it shouldn't be a dream. He questions whether the store will still be in the same location as yesterday. Lost in thought, he heads toward the store and is taken aback when he sees it standing right where he left it. A sense of surprise fills him as he grips the doorknob, convinced that the presence of a real convenience store confirms that it wasn't just a figment of his imagination. Upon entering, doubt creeps back in. He wonders if he is the only one who can see this place. Suddenly, he hears a voice coming from the counter. A man is speaking to the manager in a stern tone. John glances over and notices that the man is bald. As he closes the door, he catches snippets of their conversation. The bald man tells the manager, if I drink my soju here, I can leave the empty bottles behind. He adds, I'll give you the empty bottles, and if they accumulate to 100 won worth, the price of the soju will come to exactly 2 won. That's why I insist on drinking it right here. In reality, the old man is not human. He is an elf. With a laugh, he exclaims, I can down a shot in 1 second, and insists there's no problem at all. He orders the manager to serve him right there. As Chan observes the scene, confusion washes over him, and he wishes fervently that it were all just a dream. The manager offers a friendly smile to the elf customer and gently reminds him that, as she mentioned before, drinking in the convenience store is illegal. She urges him to pay for his soju and enjoy it at home instead. This makes the old man feel frustrated. He presses her with a strict tone, questioning why it is illegal and why she is acting so oddly. He argues that it seems unreasonable for a store selling alcohol to prohibit drinking on the premises. Nervous, the manager tries to clarify that she didn't mean it in that way. But as she falters under the old man's pressure, Chan steps forward. Positioning himself between them, summoning his courage, he addresses the old man firmly. According to the laws, convenience stores are classified as restaurants, which is why drinking here is not permitted. The manager looks at him in surprise. Chan continues, telling the old man that he also cannot drink outside of the convenience store. He urges the elf to simply pay for his drink and enjoy it at home. As Chan speaks up, the manager girl's jaw drops in surprise. She looks at him and asks when he arrived. Chan simply glances back and replies that he just got here, remarking that she is working hard. Their conversation is abruptly interrupted by the loud voice of the elf old man who calls out to Chan. The manager instinctively covers her ears at the volume of his voice. The old man demands to know how Chan thinks he is to interrupt so suddenly. Without hesitation, Chan responds that he is an employee here. The elf is taken aback by this revelation, his demeanor shifting instantly. He changes his tone, incredulously asking, "Do you dare speak to a customer in that manner merely because you are just an employee?" The elf accuses him of looking down on him simply because he is an elf. Chan, bewildered by the accusation, quickly apologizes and asks when he ever looked down on him. The old man reiterates that by refusing his request, Chan is indeed showing disdain. He claims that both he and the manager are looking down on him because he is an elf while they are both human. The manager and Chan exchange shocked glances. Chan, confused, insists that he has done nothing to warrant such a reaction. But suddenly, the elf flops onto the floor like a child, bursting into tears as he cries out that they have indeed looked down on him. Sliding on the floor, the old elf wails about how saddening everything is, declaring that he feels so sad. In a worried tone, Chan tries to intervene, reminding him that it's dangerous to be lying on the floor like that. However, the old man continues to lament that he's being looked down upon by insignificant human beings, simply because he is old. The manager girl observes the scene with a calm demeanor. She gently requests the elf to get up, warning him that he might get hurt if the products on display fall on him. As she speaks, she discreetly places her hand on a secret red button located at the counter. The old man scoffs, suggesting that they are now giving him orders. The manager reassures him that it's not like that. She is merely expressing concern for his safety. Seeing that he isn't comprehending the seriousness of the situation, she decisively presses the button. Shortly after, the police arrive at the convenience store. A wolf-headed policeman approaches the elf, who now appears entirely calm at home, while a female police inspector asks the manager for details. The inspector notes that the manager claims the elf didn't pay for the alcohol and also accused him of discrimination and disturbing the business. The manager confirms this, adding that she can provide the CCTV footage as evidence. Chan stands back on the counter, wearing his jacket, while the manager heads toward the CCTV room with the police officer. As she opens the door, she asks, "Do you need assistance with operating the CCTV?" The police officer shakes her head, assuring her it's fine. "I'll return after reviewing the footage." The manager tells her, "Take your time." Once the officer enters the room, the manager returns to Chan at the counter. He looks at her and remarks, "The elves in this world seem quite different from what I know." She politely inquires, "How are the elves in your world?" At first, he hesitates, unsure of how to explain, but after picturing the scene in his mind, he describes them as noble and beautiful beings. He adds, "I always thought of elves as very dignified, but after witnessing the recent events in the store, he is taken aback." With a calm and gentle expression, the manager responds, "There were indeed such noble species before the war." Chan looks puzzled, prompting her to explain further. She tells him that decades ago, this world underwent remarkable scientific progress, leading to the creation of many unique artifacts designed to improve the lives of all beings. She continues, explaining that it was humans who spearheaded the development of science and technology, enabling other species to enjoy a more convenient life. At first, everyone welcomed this progress positively, and entire provinces flourished as a result. However, the rapid growth came at the cost of nature's decline, even though life became more comfortable. The elves firmly opposed these changes. Over time, tensions escalated into a major conflict. Surprised, Chan asks, did such a conflict really arise just because of technology? She confirms this, noting that since elves are a nature-bound species, they could not tolerate the damage caused by human advancements. In response, they dismantled many buildings and factories, forcing other species to choose, side with the humans to continue advancing or side with the elves to preserve the natural balance. She emphasizes that the consensus at the time was to side with the humans. As Chan listens intently, gazing out the window, she continues, "All other races once stood united during the conflict. The elves' greater numbers prolonged the struggle." When he notices some elves and humans walking together outside, she explains that they eventually reconciled. However, the aftermath of the conflict left lasting scars, leading to a significant decline in both populations. As Han sees an elderly elf sleeping in the police car, he turns to the manager and asks what happened to them. She explains that after the conflict, the surviving elves had to face many challenges in order to adapt. With a playful tone, she asked if he remembers the elf police officer who went to check the CCTV. He nods and she tells him that the officer must have worked hard to secure that position, even going so far as to dye her blonde hair black. The manager emphasizes that if any customers are elves, they should be treated with respect. Chan understands her point, but politely inquires whether he needs to treat the elf customer from earlier with the same courtesy. At this, the manager suddenly looks taken aback and quickly warns him against that notion. She insists that he is not obligated to treat such customers well, advising him to simply chase them away if they scream or curse at him. She adds that he shouldn't suffer through mistreatment for no reason. Chan responds calmly, assuring her that he understands. He then politely suggests that she should wrap up her shift for the day. The manager yawns slightly, agrees, but mentions that she needs to return after the police officer is back. Just as they continue their conversation, the police officer emerges from the CCTV room. She informs the manager that she's finished reviewing the CCTV footage. Chan looks on as the manager, in a drowsy tone, thanks her for her hard work. The manager then gives a small, cheerful smile and asks if they could chat on the way out as she's ready to head home. The officer nods in agreement. As they prepare to leave, the police officer tells the manager that they'll be taking the elf with them for now, adding that his level of punishment will likely be determined after reviewing his situation further. The manager acknowledges this, then turns to Chan while holding the door open. She tells him, "Message me if anything unusual happens at the store." The officer gives Chan a polite salute, thanking him for his cooperation, and both women head out. Chan waves at the manager and the police officer with a smile, wishing them a safe return. As they leave, he sits back down on the stool and rests his head on the counter. Feeling a wave of nervousness wash over him, he thinks about how exhausted he is after just 2 days of his part-time job. He realizes that he needs to adapt quickly, or he won't be able to keep this up for long. Lost in thought, a new customer walks into the convenience store. He approaches the counter and, noticing Chan with his head down, sternly asks, "Are you slacking off at work?" Chan looks up, surprised to see that it's the same customer with the dog-like face from yesterday. The customer demands to know why Chan isn't getting up immediately. In his mind, Chan wonders if he can ask the manager for permission to kick this customer out as well. With a calm demeanor, he stands up and asks the customer, "Are you looking for something specific?" The customer, still fuming, demands to know where the toothpaste is. Chan gestures toward the shelf, pointing out that it's in the same place as the toothbrush the customer bought yesterday. This only angers the customer more, and he sharply questions how he's supposed to know that based on Chan's vague directions. He accuses him of being unprofessional and orders him to explain things properly. Chan glances at the customer nonchalantly, mentally calling for the manager and lamenting that he feels bullied. He then steps forward and politely suggests, "You'll need to follow me. I'll show you where the toothpaste is." The customer grumbles, "You should have done that sooner." When they reach a shelf filled with toothpastes, Chan assures him, "You can choose any of them." The customer begins examining the options, but soon looks puzzled and asks, "Which toothpaste should I buy?" Chan simply replies, "I don't know." The customer turns back to him incredulously, remarking, "As an employee, you should at least be familiar with the products." He adds, "Customers are unlikely to buy anything if the staff can't make a good appeal." He questions, "Can this business thrive with such poor service?" Chan turns his head slightly, noting that the customer seems to have quite a few demands. He spots a toothpaste with a 1+1 offer and, pointing to it, politely asks the customer what he thinks about that option. The customer sits down to examine it, but quickly replies that he doesn't need 2 tubes. John suggests that since one is free, it might be beneficial for him to buy it. The customer contemplates for a moment, his eyes focused on the product before ultimately agreeing to the deal. They both head back to the counter where the customer places the toothpaste and 10,001 in front of Chan, stating that he's ready to pay. Chan checks the price and calmly informs him that it's 2001. He also mentions that a bag costs 101 and asks if he would like one. The customer confirms he does, but then his gaze shifts to some other item displayed at the counter. He picks one up and casually says he will buy that too. John nods and tells him that the total will now be 3001, adding that the new item also has a 1+1 offer. Hearing this, the customer becomes irritated and insists he doesn't need 2, stating that he can just take one. Chan apologizes for the misunderstanding and hands him his change. The customer takes only one of the toothpaste tubes and tells him to take back the free one. Chan calmly replies that he can't take it back, asking how he could return it when it's already his. But the customer snaps back, saying it's none of his business and assuring him he won't be asking for a refund later, so he should just take it. With that, the customer steps outside, muttering that he'll be leaving now. Watching him go, Chan sighs, a sad expression crossing his face. He thinks to himself that this Chihuahua customer may not be a regular, but every time he shows up, there's always something to deal with. Considering the customer's repeated visits, Chan realizes he likely works nearby. A wave of dread washes over him as he wonders if he'll have to face him regularly for as long as he's working here. He puts his hands over his ears, lost in thought, when he suddenly hears someone else entering the convenience store. Looking up, Chan is startled to see the same succubus girl from yesterday standing in front of him. His mind flashes to her intense expression from before, but she greets him with a polite tone. She asks if he is also selling resignation letters. Chan quickly calls the manager to report the situation. As the succubus customer waits seated on a chair, the manager sounds surprised. Did that girl really come back? Chan confirms, mentioning that she likely won't act as she did yesterday. The manager then asks, what about her condition? Chan replies she seems to have had a drink, but she's much more docile than she was yesterday. As he sits beneath the counter, the manager instructs him to check her condition with the curse detector. If the results are fine, just let her be. Nothing will happen then. Chan nervously agrees, saying, I'll contact you again if anything unusual comes up during the check. The manager reassures him, I'm leaving it in your hands. After ending the call, he wipes the sweat from his brow and wonders what to do next. He feels a little anxious, fearing the customer might behave erratically again. Should he just stay hidden? As he grapples with his confusion and fear, the image of the manager holding the money for him flashes through his mind. He shakes off the worried thoughts, reminding himself of the bonus he received yesterday from her and the paycheck he will earn this month. With the promise of that money motivating him, he realizes he needs to work diligently to deserve it. Gathering his courage, he approaches the succubus customer, addressing her politely as he holds out the curse detector. When the customer sees him with the tool, her cute expression brightens. She exclaims in surprise, it's the same device I saw yesterday. With a hint of nervousness, he tells her, I need to check you if you want to stay in the store. He asks if that's all right with her. Calmly, she extends her hand, agreeing to let him check. Thank you for accepting my request, he says. As he prepares to conduct the check, the customer suddenly calls out to him. He turns to her, noticing her slightly embarrassed expression. With a blush on her cheeks, she apologizes, I'm sorry for my behavior the previous day. Chan feels a bit confused and asks, are you apologizing for throwing up rainbow sherbet in the store? She covers her face with her hands in shame, her voice laced with regret. Please don't bring it up again. She explains that she was out of her mind yesterday after drinking too much magical power while working at her company. She humbly apologizes once more, stating that she has no excuse for her actions. Curious, Che asked her, what kind of company would leave you in such a state? With tears welling in her eyes and a sad tone, she reveals, I work at a nearby pharmaceutical company. My condition arose while I was making a love potion. Chan's surprise is evident as he asks, aren't potions typically made by magicians? She looks at him and explains, in industries related to love, succubi play a significant, which led to her actions. Chan listens intently, surprised by her explanation, and begins to realize that succubi in this world have a wholesome side. However, he can't shake the feeling that something still seems off. He gently asks her why she is considering quitting her job, adding that he thinks her role suits her well. He wonders why she is searching for a resignation letter. At this question, she rubs her fingers in frustration. Suddenly, tears stream down her face. With a sad expression, she reveals that the reason for her distress is that she has never been on a date, nor does she understand what love truly means. Chan is completely stunned by her revelation, questions in confusion how it's possible, given that she is from a succubus species. In response, the customer pounds her fists on the table in a moment of frustration. She acknowledges that it's true, but explains that she focused so much on her studies that there was no space for romance in her life. She shares that she graduated as a student with a rather lonely existence. Taking a deep breath, she continues saying she tried hard at her first job, but because she doesn't understand love. Her work is suffering. Still feeling downcast, she adds that when she asked her seniors or colleagues about love, they all offered different opinions, leaving her unsure about what to believe. She admits that she feels perhaps this job isn't right for her, which is why she has been looking for a resignation letter. After listening to her, Chan responds with a calm expression, acknowledging that she must be quite troubled by all of this. She agrees and he realizes he has ended up hearing about her personal struggles. Holding the curse detector in his hand, he addresses her in a reassuring tone, encouraging her to stay positive and cheer up. As she gazes at him with tears in her eyes, he reassures her that everyone struggles when they start their first job, so there's no need for her to dwell on it negatively. Inspired by his calm demeanor, she decides to share the real reason for her visit, mentioning that she came because she remembered something he said yesterday. He feels a bit confused and asks her to elaborate. She recalls the scene from yesterday, noting that he had mentioned something about wanting something he couldn't have while she was in the taxi. Chad responds simply, Stating that he had spoken those words without much thought, Chan was surprised by her reaction. However, she abruptly stood up from the table, her frustration bubbling over. "I was shocked by what you said," she exclaimed. Taken aback by her sudden intensity, Chan listened as she explained everyone else either describes love as easy, enjoyable, and joyful, or as bothersome and painful. But you were the only one who offered a different perspective. Chan attempted to calm her, but she insisted that his words kept lingering in her mind. "They were so fresh and new to me," she said. She stepped closer to him, clasping her hands in front of her. With tears in her eyes, she pleaded, "Please share your thoughts on the meaning of love. I genuinely want to hear your answer." Chan felt a pang of sympathy as he looked at her. He closed his eyes in nervousness, remembering the similar expression he had seen in her eyes yesterday. With a gentle tone, he apologized. "I don't understand love either," he admitted. "My earlier comment was made without much thought." Feeling a bit apprehensive, he continued, "I've never dated anyone before." She calms down and asks why he hasn't pursued a relationship. He shrugs and replies, "It's likely because my face looks so dull. It's kept others from showing interest." As they share a moment of silence, their eyes locked, sadness washes over Chan. Suddenly, he turns his gaze away, tears welling in his eyes. He silently wishes for her not to try to understand him too deeply. He just wants her to go home. After that moment, they both take a seat at a table. The customer pulls out a tablet, opens the notepad app, and cheerfully informs him, "We're ready to exchange information about each other." She plans to write down their conversation for future reference. With a cute smile, she reassures him, "Whatever you share won't be leaked to anyone else. It will only be used for my own purposes, so you can answer my questions comfortably." Chan returns her smile, but inwardly wonders why he should participate in this exchange. As he observes her glowing expression, he contemplates what questions she might ask. However, he doubts he can provide any valuable insights given that he has been single for 29 years. He feels he won't be of any help to her at all. Realizing he should change the subject, he calls her attention and asks, rather than interviewing others, what her thoughts are on getting into a relationship. Surprised by his question, she can't believe he actually asked her that. Chan nods, admitting it might be a bit awkward to stay, but he imagines that people around her must have tried to set her up with someone. He asks if she's never been in that situation. She calmly twirls her pencil and agrees, explaining that people had indeed tried, but she avoided it all because it scared her. Chan is surprised. She continues, saying that when she first started at the company, she studied love extensively. She read every book and asked many people. While they all described love as a wonderful thing, it was also something intangible and deeply personal. Everyone had a unique experience of it, which led her to worry about what would happen if love was entirely different from what she expected. She admits with a sad expression that this thought really frightened her, so she avoided it at any cost. After sharing this, she asked him, "Is it strange for a succubus to fear love?" Chan quickly reassures her, "It's not strange at all," and she looks at him with hopeful, curious eyes. He explains that everyone fears what they can't see or fully understand. Human emotions in particular are complex and difficult to grasp, especially at first. He adds that among all emotions, love is the most complex. So it's no wonder that starting a romantic relationship isn't easy. However, a thought crosses his mind and he asks her how she views love lightly, considering her job is related to it. The customer looks confused by the question. With a serious demeanor, he explains, "Although you described love as a wonderful thing earlier, I don't entirely agree with that sentiment." Taken aback, she quickly asks, "Why do you feel this way?" Calmly, he recounts an experience he had with a friend. He tells her that when his friend was dating, he often bragged about his partner, claiming he couldn't live without her. His girlfriend seemed equally happy, and his friend frequently insisted they were a match made in heaven. However, once they got married and began living together, they started noticing flaws in each other that they had previously overlooked. For instance, there were times when his friend wanted a specific dish, but his wife refused to make it. Chan continued, saying that their disagreements over these small issues led to frequent arguments, ultimately causing his friend to regret getting married. As Chan shares the story, the customer taps away on her tablet, noting each detail and analyzing the factors that led to his friend's relationship struggles. After a moment, she comments thoughtfully, suggesting that his friend and his partner might have been very different from each other. Chan nods, replying that it certainly seems that way and mentioning how his friend used to adore everything about her when they were dating, though he notices that many people around him seem to go through the same thing. He adds with a serious expression that love often seems to change with circumstances, though truly great things, in his opinion, usually remain constant. As she listens intently, he continues explaining that love changes because it is tied to a mix of emotions within each person. That's why I advise you should approach it lightly and try a relationship at least once. He clarifies that while love is indeed amazing, he doesn't believe it's necessarily something universally great. He also warns her to be cautious about falling into dangerous love. Curious, she asks him what he means by dangerous love. He explains, I believe there are two types of emotions that can be dangerous. The first is when someone tries to unilaterally force love. It's when one partner attempts to compel the other to love them, while the other is merely respecting their wishes without any genuine desire for love. He pauses for a moment before continuing. The second type involves a love characterized by observation alone. For example, someone who is content just watching their partner without truly engaging with them. Chan emphasizes, I see both of these types of love as hazardous because they can leave wounds and scars on both sides. They often cause partners to shut their hearts off from each other. As he gazes out the window, he notices two men with crocodile-like faces working together. This prompts him to add, while the two kinds of love I described are different, I view them as greedy and one-sided emotions. He then explains further, love cannot exist in isolation. It requires mutual engagement. Observing the crocodile-faced men outside, Cham concludes a true relationship can only be established through the exchange of feelings between partners. After sharing his thoughts, Chan warns her once again, be cautious of these types of love and seek a comfortable relationship instead. The girl customer listens intently, surprised by his insights. She begins to jot them down on her tablet. However, she pauses to write a question, politely asking, do you think I'll be able to find a relationship, given my frustrating nature? John reassures her confidently, absolutely. You can find it because you're a very attractive person. He adds, somewhat awkwardly, it might be rude to say, but I believe there will be many men who would turn down your confession. Therefore, he encourages her, be confident and take the plunge. As he finishes speaking, he suddenly covers his mouth, feeling a bit embarrassed. I apologize for talking so much, he says, especially considering I've never. This revelation surprises the customer. She responds with a polite smile, mentioning that she has never dated anyone either, but is still creating love potions. She explains that it's actually easier for her to understand someone who hasn't had romantic experiences. She expresses her gratitude for learning the perspective of someone who has been single their entire life. Chan feels a mix of discomfort and gratitude at her compliment, silently wishing she would steer clear of discussing his lifelong single status. Then he suddenly calls out to her again, asking if she needs to get ready for work. She glances at her phone and, surprised, realizes he's right. It's time for the first bus to arrive. They both walk to the convenience store's entrance, where she thanks him respectfully for listening to her. She expresses that it truly helped her a lot, to which he responds that he's glad to have been of assistance. He then hands her a small packet from the store, requesting that she take it with her. Confused, she asks why he is giving it to her. He simply explains that since she has to go to work now, it will make her day a little easier if she takes it. Although initially surprised, she accepts it. She nods in agreement and accepts the packet, thanking him once again as he reaches for the door handle to open it. She calls out to him once more. With a bright smile, she asks, would it bother you if I return to the store in the future? He assures her that it's not a problem at all. With that, she exits the store and heads on her way. The next morning, the manager arrives at the convenience store and asks Chan about the succubus girl. As she puts on her jacket, she questions him, do you really think it's okay for the succubus customer to return? Chan simply replies, I do. Her expression turns to one of shock, and she warns him, don't accept such customers so easily in the future. She explains, you should be cautious around succubi. They're known for their intense obsessions. In a calm tone, Chan asks, is that really the case? With a firm expression, she confirms it, warning him, you could get into trouble if you mess with them. She reiterates, be careful next time. Chan listens attentively, his face a bit embarrassed, and assures her, I'll keep your advice in mind. As they speak, a cyclist rides by outside the store. The manager casually mentions that she hasn't seen the pure-blooded young dragon today. This prompts Chan to remember that she still has many tasks to complete. Just then, the manager questions, has the little kid forgotten something? Suddenly, they both hear a strange noise from outside. Concerned, they rush to the entrance. Chan asks, what was that sound? The manager admits, I don't know what it is. It sounds like metal. As the manager quickly opens the door, they both look outside and are shocked to see the cyclist from earlier lying in the street. The manager calls out, mechanical dull, mister, are you hurt? Still lying on the ground, the figure looks up and assures her, I'm fine. Thank you for your concern. But as Chan gets a better look, he realizes the figure isn't human. It's a robot. The manager kneels beside the robot, offering a hand to help it up, remarking with concern, you can't possibly be okay after making such a loud crash. The robot apologizes, saying sorry for startling you, and gratefully accepts her help to stand. Meanwhile, Chan picks up the robot's fallen bicycle. Puzzled by the situation, the manager then kindly asks, how did it end up falling in the first place? The robot explains an unexpected issue occurred. The bicycle pedals suddenly stopped working. Looking closer at the bike, Chan calls out from behind, noticing that the chain has fallen off. The robot tilts its head in confusion, asking, "Did the bicycle chain come loose?" Chan crouches beside the bike, confirms the robot's words, and explains the chain likely slipped off due to twisting while shifting gears. He reassures them, "With a bit of effort, we should be able to fix it." Using his mind and deftly moving his hands, he quickly reattaches the chain to the bicycle. Once he finishes, he announces, "It's done." Both the manager and the robot watch in astonishment. The robot even breaks into applause, clearly pleased. The manager turns to Chan, praising him as amazing for fixing it so quickly. The robot glances at its bicycle, expressing gratitude for the repair and commenting on Chan's impressive skills. The manager steps closer to Chan, placing a hand on his back, and carefully notes how talented and reliable he is. With a blush creeping onto his cheeks, Chan modestly replies, "I simply know how to fix bicycles because I rode one a lot when I was younger." The robot then politely hands each of them a card. "Thank you again for your assistance. It says you can reach out anytime you need help." As they examine the card, they realize that the robot owns a shooting factory specializing in monster hunting. The robot informs them, "I'd be happy to provide my services to both of you for free." Chan tries to assure the robot, "You don't need to go out of your way to return the favor." But the robot insists, "I genuinely want to help. Contact me whenever you need assistance." With that, it hops back on its bicycle and bids farewell. "Take care," it calls, riding off into the distance. The manager waves at the robot with a cheerful demeanor. "Be careful on your way." She reminds it, while Chan simply watches with an indifferent expression. Turning back to him, the manager politely suggests, "You should head home and get some rest. Tomorrow we'll be busy." Chan looks puzzled and asks, "Are there a lot of deliveries scheduled?" She explains, "Tomorrow is Friday, the day when people often have fun before the weekend." With a playful tone, she adds, "If you don't rest well today, you might just collapse tomorrow." The mention of Friday shocks Chan, and he suddenly realizes she is right. He reflects that he must have forgotten, as it has been so long since he last worked in a convenience store. In his mind, he acknowledges that Fridays are notorious for being wild party days for convenience store workers. The next day, Friday arrives, and Chan is on the night shift. Standing at the counter, he reflects on the significance of this day. Glancing at the computer screen, he mutters, "It's a burning Friday, widely known as the craziest day of the week." It is the day when everyone seeks to unwind and shake off the stress accumulated over the past 5 days. However, he muses about the source of this relief. Then he realizes, of course, it is the alcohol. He acknowledges that every liquor store profits significantly on this day, including the convenience store. At this time, the atmosphere in the store is lively, with a couple of customers enjoying themselves. Two guys with elf ears are causing a stir. One of them is clutching a bottle, while the other sits on the floor munching on snacks and laughing wholeheartedly. The guy holding the bottle turns to his friend and announces that he will now sing song number 18. He asked if he's ready to listen. With a bright smile, the second elf eagerly agrees, and the first one begins to sing with carefree joy. As the two guys revel in the moment behind the shelves, a new girl customer enters the store. She is drawn in by the song. Long wings sprout from her back, and her beautiful hair flows freely. Her eagle-like feet add to her ethereal presence. She exudes an enchanting aura. The girl dances joyfully to the music, her cute and happy demeanor lighting up the store. Meanwhile, Chan stands at the counter, his expression one of exasperation. He realizes that this is what Fridays have become, an influx of lively and eccentric customers. After a moment of calm, irritation wells up inside him. Determined to restore order, he strides toward the customers. First, he snatches the bottle from the hand of the singing elf. Then, he takes the snack pack from the other elf, who is still seated on the floor, laughing heartily. Giving them a stern look, he addresses them as customers and states firmly, "While I understand you are enjoying yourselves, you need to pay for your items before causing any more mischief." Upon hearing his words, both customers straighten up. Adopting a polite tone, they apologize for their behavior. They assure him that they will purchase 2 of the items. As Chan stands there, he suddenly hears a voice calling for help. Confused, he looks up just in time to see a third girl customer soaring through the air. A look of pure joy is on her face as she closes her eyes and revels in the moment. His eyes widen in shock at the sight, and the other 2 elf customers stand frozen, equally astonished. Just as she is about to crash into the door and send shells tumbling, Chan instinctively needles and swiftly catches her by the waist. With a bright smile and sparkling eyes, she exclaims, "I've finally become a swan." Frustrated, Chan thinks that she really should be doing these kinds of things at home instead of here in the store. He stands up, gently pulls her down, and adopts a serious tone. "Don't behave like this," he urges. "Go home," he instructs as he tries to manage the situation. A sudden loud crash reverberates through the store, followed by the panicked screams of the 2 elf customers. Chan glances over to the counter and sees the 2 elves sprawled on the floor, completely stunned by the chaotic scene happening around them. He notices that another customer, a bull-headed figure, has crashed through the store's door and is now sitting on the floor. The bull looks up, a handle of the broken door still tangled in his horns, and with a confused tone, he asks, "Where am I?" Chan gently lays the evil girl down on the floor, feeling both worried and stunned as he takes in the sight of the completely shattered door. The bull guy hiccups and politely inquires about the source of the commotion. Chan's frustration boils over as he thinks to himself, tears welling up. The bull has smashed into a glass door. He mutters under his breath, "What a bad guy." Moments later, all the remaining customers begin to exit the store calmly, leaving Chan alone with the chaos. He quickly calls the manager, who is at home. She answers with a lighthearted tone, asking, "Are you still alive?" With widened eyes, Chan pleads, "Please, save me from this mess." However, the manager, lying on her bed and feeling utterly drained from work, apologized. She mentioned that she felt like she was about to collapse and leaned back, rubbing her eyes. She told him it had been particularly rough that day, remarking that they hadn't had customers like this before. Chan inquired about what she meant by her unusual customers. The manager began to recount her experiences from the day shift. She explained that a goblin had asked her to split the total across several cards while making a payment, and there was a long line of customers waiting behind him. The goblin insisted that this would save her 1-1. On top of that, a lady had suddenly cut in line. As the manager requested the goblin to pay with a single card, the lady pushed forward, placing her items on the counter and demanding that the manager process her payment first. When the manager tried to explain that it wasn't her turn and that she would have to wait, a fight broke out between the goblin and the lady. The goblin, irritated, shouted that he was still in the middle of paying. The manager continued to share her frustrations with Chan over the phone, noting that while picky customers are common on Fridays, today has been particularly challenging. Listening to her recount these incidents, Chan stands at the counter with a serious expression. Realizing that the manager has endured a lot as well, he concludes that there is not much they can do about the situation. Then the manager checks in on him. She expresses concern, noting that he seemed exhausted earlier, and asked if he is okay. Meanwhile, Chan glances at the broken door, which he has temporarily covered with cardboard. When the manager asks him if something happened, he simply replies, "A miner shattered the door." As she changes into her sleeping clothes and processes what he just said, her expression shifts to one of shock. With a worried tone, she asks, "Are you okay? Were you injured in any way?" Chan reassures her politely, "I'm perfectly fine." He adds, "I've already obtained the contact information of the miner responsible for the damage and have put a temporary fix in place, so you don't need to worry." However, when he looks at the phone and notices her silence, he thinks to himself that she must be truly shocked by the news of the door being smashed. Concern washes over him as he wonders if he might have overwhelmed her with too much information. He realizes he should have framed his words more carefully to lessen the shock. Feeling a sense of responsibility, he decides that he should at least try to comfort her. Just then, the manager speaks up calmly. "You need a tool that will be useful for you." Intrigued, he asked about it. She confirms that she has been thinking about this for a while and will prepare it as soon as possible. He assures her, "You don't need to go to the trouble." But she responds, explaining every species in our world possesses magical powers. She elaborates each species exhibits unique physical and magical abilities based on their characteristics. For instance, elves remain youthful and have long lifespans, while succubi excel at captivating others, and so on. She expresses her belief that among these diverse species with various talents, Chan faces the highest risk of exposure to dangers in this world because he hails from an entirely different realm. However, she reassures him, "You possess an anti-magic constitution, which allows you to control it with your will. This grants you the power to protect yourself." As she speaks, she adds that they still don't know if this ability will safeguard him against extreme magical powers. She points out that he cannot physically overcome them either. After explaining all of this, she emphasizes that her concerns are solely for his safety. She assures him that he not feel burdened by it. She asks him to trust her guidance. In a polite tone, he agrees and replies, "I look forward to it." She then mentions that she will go find some equipment now and wishes him good luck for the rest of his shift. He agrees with her and reassures her there's no need to hurry. As they end the phone call, Chom reflects on his thoughts. He realizes that he has felt this way before. He genuinely believes the manager is a really good person. He thinks to himself that she truly cares about him, even though he is just a part-time worker. He decides that he should at least buy her some food when he receives his first salary. Lost in his thoughts, another customer enters the convenience store. When the customer calls out to him, Chan warmly welcomes him and asks, "Are you looking for anything in particular?" The customer shares his needs and requests Chan to help him find the items. Chan agrees and prepares to assist him with the payment as well. However, as the customer places his hand on the counter, Chan notices a scar on his hand and is taken aback. Observing Chan's reaction, the customer apologizes. Chan quickly apologizes in return and explains that it's the first time he has seen such a scar, causing him to be momentarily stunned without realizing it. The customer reassures him. It's not unusual for people to have scars like these, he says. Chan then notices something else. The customer appears quite unusual, sporting wolf-like ears atop his head. He offers Chan a smile and assures him not to worry. Anyone filled with curiosity is bound to react like that, he adds. Then the customer asks, "May I rest here for a while?" With a gentle tone, Chan agrees, thinking that he has never encountered such a kind, middle-aged man before. He tells the customer that he can rest comfortably at the counter. The man expresses his gratitude for Chan's kindness and begins fiddling with his phone while still standing at the counter. After some time, Chan glances over and notices that the man has been occupied for quite a while. He wonders to himself if the customer is particularly busy. He examines the man's attire and wonders, if dressed in a suit this late at night, he might be an office worker pulling overtime. He speculates that if that's the case, he could be working in finance, a sector known for long hours. With this in mind, Chan decides to approach the customer. He first apologizes for interrupting and then casually asks, "Are you currently checking stocks?" The customer reaches for a pack of cigarettes and clarifies, "I'm not looking at stocks. I'm focused on something related to work." Curious, Chan asks for more details. The man responds, "It's related to driving." Chan is taken aback when the customer shows him something on his phone and with a smile reveals, "I work as a chauffeur." After a while, a multitude of cars come to a halt outside the convenience store, caught in traffic. Chan stands at the counter, maintaining a relaxed demeanor as he observes the congestion. His gaze shifts to the customer, a gentleman who resembles a kobold, quietly fixated on his chauffeur service app. A wave of contentment washes over Chan. He appreciates the tranquility of the moment. Grateful that there are no odd customers after midnight, just this gentle soul. With a serene expression, he savors the feeling of enjoyable work hours returning to him after such a long time. In his heart, he hopes for this peaceful atmosphere to continue. As he revels in these calm moments, the customer suddenly calls out to him. Curious, Chan inquires about the reason. The customer holds out his phone, displaying a location, and politely asks if Chan knows where it is. Chan takes the phone, examines it closely, and apologetically informs him that he has only recently started working in this area, so he isn't familiar with it. To Chan's surprise, the customer responds with a smile, expressing his relief at hearing that. He adds that he hasn't been working as a chauffeur for long either. He calmly inquires about how things are going and if the job is manageable. With a composed expression, Chan replies that it was fine until yesterday, but today a miner smashed the door, leaving him quite exhausted. The customer chuckles softly, commenting that such a situation explains a lot. He mentions that he had been wondering what happened to the door. As they continue their lighthearted conversation, a sudden loud noise interrupts them, like heavy objects colliding. Startled, Chan freezes while the customer glances outside, his expression turning serious. Chan looks out as well and realizes that a traffic accident has occurred. Two cars have bumped into each other. Both drivers step out, looking upset and flustered. To Chan's surprise, they are orcs. They immediately start arguing. One orc angrily questions the other's driving, saying he turned without checking the signal. The second orc fires back, claiming the first wasn't paying attention either, and sarcastically remarks that maybe he thinks traffic rules are just for decoration. As the exchange heats up, both keep insisting that they had activated their signals first. The argument grows loud and intense, as if neither wants to back down. Nearby, a man with a dog-like face stands frozen, clearly frightened and on the verge of tears. Yet, he is filming the altercation on his phone. Chan and the customer both watch the scene unfold. With a look of surprise, Chan thinks it's incredible to witness such chaos, noting the crowd that is gathered around the fight. He initially worries about the fact that he might actually see orcs brawling while on the job, but then he quickly realizes that the situation is escalating more rapidly than he anticipated. As the orcs grapple on the ground, Chan thinks it would be wise for them to contact their insurance company before the fighting gets out of hand. Though others in the crowd observe, most simply continue on their way. Two might stand at the edge of the scene, one asking the other if the orcs are fighting again. The second Oz replies nonchalantly, "This is just how they always are." A passing goblin adds, "They should just ignore the commotion." Watching the entire situation in front of him, Chan concludes that it appears to be quite serious, yet everyone around him is simply walking past. He feels puzzled, wondering if such brawls are a common occurrence in this world. Amazed, he murmurs to himself, "It truly is a different worry." Amid his thoughts, the wolf-like customer politely asks if Chan thinks he will get into trouble for witnessing the fight. Chan simply asks, "Why would I get in trouble?" The wolf customer calmly replies, "If the orcs continue fighting, I doubt they'll have any customers. I think your business won't fare well today." Glancing back at the orcs, who are still caught up in their brawl, Chan admits, "I understand why. Everyone's preoccupied watching the fight." He adds, It does seem like business will suffer because of it. At that moment, the wolf customer steps forward saying, I should go warn the orcs. He approaches them and calls out to the young fighters, Hey, you should stop fighting and clear the street. The orcs turn to him in confusion. He remarks on how great it is to see them so energetic. But you should stop fighting now. Both the man with the dog-like face and Chan watch in surprise at his boldness. One of the orcs growls, Old wolf, what gives you the right to interfere? The second orc echoes this sentiment, Who do you think you are? The wolf customer seems undeterred. When they tell him to stop interrupting and back off, he stands firm, unfazed. He fixes them with an intense glare. As the orcs insist that an old wolf should just observe quietly, the wolf customer tightens a fist. As the orcs demand to know how he dares to act this way, the wolf customer bravely throws a powerful punch at one orc's face. The orc staggers, blood trickling from his nose as he collapses to the ground. The spectators, including Chan, watch in shock at the sudden turn of events. Standing calmly, the wolf customer observes the fallen orc. The second orc stares at his companion in disbelief, angrily questioning why he suddenly passed out. The dog-faced man is equally astonished by the scene before him. The second orc then turns his fury toward the wolf customer, unleashing a fierce punch. He demands to know what the wolf customer did to this guy. However, as the punch comes toward him, the wolf customer effortlessly steps back to dodge the attack. Rotating his body, he delivers a swift and powerful kick to the second orc's head, sending him crashing to the ground as well. With both orcs down, the wolf customer stands comfortably, remarking that they are finally being docile. His gaze then shifts to the dog-faced man, who is cowering behind a car in fear. The wolf customer calls out to him. The man peeks cautiously at him and inquires, What do you want? The wolf customer simply rubs his coat and calmly suggests, since things have settled down, it might be a good time to call the police and the insurance company. The dog-faced man agrees and thanks the wolf customer for his assistance. The wolf customer brushes it off, wishing him good luck in handling the situation from now on. He returns to Chan, who is still in disbelief over his impressive moves. Chan asks, What did you do before becoming a chauffeur, and what species are you? The wolf customer politely replies, I'm a werewolf. It might be hard to tell since it isn't a full moon yet. He adds, In my younger days, I dabbled in various things, but now I just consider myself a retired old man. Chan is surprised, thinking, This guy seems like a genuinely cool person. He reflects on the scar on his hand and how easily the wolf customer handled the situation earlier, convinced that the wolf customer must have had some extraordinary experiences. As the wolf customer glances at his phone, he informs Chan that it's time for him to get back to work. He thanks Chan for allowing him to rest in the convenience store, but Chan insists that it was nothing worth mentioning. Just then, the police arrive, and the same elf police officer approaches the dog-faced man, who is now involved in handling the aftermath of the confrontation. Meanwhile, Chan asks the wolf customer, Do you have a business card or something similar? He explains that a lot of drunk customers come into the store and wonders if he could contact him if they ever need a chauffeur. The wolf customer chuckles softly and replies, I'd be happy if you did just that. He then pulls out a card from his coat and hands it to Chan, requesting that he keep in touch. Chan accepts the card and returns to the store. Sitting on the stool behind a counter, he examines the card with intense focus. To him, it appears to be just a regular business card. Suddenly, a memory flashes in his mind, the scene when he pulled out a photo from a customer's ID card which had emitted strange lights. As he reflects on this, he realizes that the card doesn't seem strange like the fake ID he had encountered before. He also recalls the wolf customer's words about not wanting to be a bother and asking if he could come to rest in the store sometime. This thought reassures Chan that the wolf guy truly doesn't seem like a scammer at all. Lost in his thoughts, Chan notices another customer entering the convenience store. To his surprise, this customer is holding a small pet dog in his arms. Chan greets him, and the customer asks for 2 packs of cigarettes. Chan politely informs him that pets aren't allowed inside the store and requests that he tie the dog up outside before coming back in. Looking at the customer closely, Chan observes that he has a fish-like face. With a calm demeanor, the customer assures Chan that his pet won't cause any trouble. He pleads with him to allow the dog to stay inside just for a little while. The customer insists that his dog is very quiet and hardly barks. He reassures Chan that he will be in and out as soon as he buys his beer and cigarettes, kindly asking him to overlook the rule just this once. Chan thinks it over, reasoning that there likely won't be any other customers during this time, so it should be fine. He agrees, but warns the customer to keep a tight hold on the dog. The customer nods in agreement and starts browsing the shelves while still holding his pet. Suddenly, Chan's phone beeps, indicating he has received a message. He pulls it out of his pocket and sees that it's from the manager. She inquires about the equipment they had discussed earlier, asking if there's anything specific he needs. Chan contemplates what special equipment would be beneficial for his work and concludes that a large mop for cleaning would be ideal. He quickly types a message requesting a huge mop. The manager replies with a surprise picture of an animal, but reassures him that she will prepare it herself. She then asks if there's anything else he might need. He replies to the manager, saying she can choose whatever she thinks is best and that he would appreciate anything she decides. Just then, the customer returns to the counter, placing his bottles and cigarettes on the surface. He sets his card on top of the bottles and requests that Chan process the payment for both the drinks and the cigarettes. Chan agrees, inserts the card into the machine, and tells the customer to hold on for a moment. However, he is taken aback when the machine indicates that the card spending limit has been reached. The customer opening the cigarette packet looks equally surprised. He mutters, "This is inconvenient," and admits, "I don't have any other card on me at the moment." Chan suggests you could transfer the money via bank account. The customer explains, "I don't have my phone with me either. I just stepped out for a walk." Inquiring about the next steps, Chan watches as the customer gestures toward his pet dog. The customer reluctantly states, "I have no choice but to go back home and grab my wallet. Please keep an eye on the dog until I get back." Chan gazes at the little dog, taken aback. He realizes the customer had said he'd leave immediately, yet he is leaving his pet behind. The customer assures him, "I'll be back in 10 minutes. Sean tries to express it's a bit difficult to leave the dog. The customer sets the dog on the counter, insisting it won't bite. It's well behaved. He adds, "Since I'm buying everything, I'm leaving the dog with you in case you don't believe me." The customer then asks, "Should I just take the dog with me instead?" Chan reassures him, "Leave the dog, just return quickly." The customer heads out of the convenience store whistling a calm tune. Chan watches him leave, still surprised that he actually left the dog behind. The little dog looks up at him with big, innocent eyes. Chan muses about the oddity of the pet owner. He wonders how someone could leave their dog with a stranger like this. Taking a moment to observe the dog, Chan reaches out and gently pats its head. He speaks softly to it, acknowledging that it is the only one suffering because of its peculiar owner. He adds that with such an owner, the dog must be living a pretty difficult life. He wonders aloud if the dog has anything to say about it. Closing his eyes, Chan comments that if the dog could speak, it would likely have a lot to share. To its astonishment, the dog suddenly replies, "I do have something I want to say." Chan's eyes widen in shock. The dog continues, "I'm unsure whether it would be okay to say it out loud, which is why I often remain silent." Chan is completely taken aback by this revelation and stumbles back a step. The dog affectionately calls him boss and asks, "Is it all right to share my thoughts?" Chan's face breaks into a sweat as he incredulously asks if the dog can really talk. The dog simply replies, "Yes." Chan leans closer, asking why the dog didn't speak up in front of its owner earlier. He notes that if it had, this situation might not have happened. The dog calmly explains, "I usually don't talk. I need to be more cautious, especially around my owner." Confused, Chan asks, "Why do you need to be cautious?" The dog recalls a moment when his owner scolded him, saying his voice was too loud for his small size. Thinking back on it, he tells Chan, "Whenever I bark, my owner threatens me with vocal cord removal surgery. He insists that he'll go through with it if I don't buy it down." Chan frowns sadly, realizing that his suspicions about the owner were correct. He is not a good one. He moves a stool closer to the dog and, speaking gently, asks for its name and age. The dog cutely replies, "My name is Puppy, and I am 2 years old." As he scratches Puppy's face, Chan comments, "You speak so well for a 2-year-old." Puppy explains, that's because dogs are considered adults by the age of 2. So, it's nothing extraordinary for him. Chan nods in understanding, admitting that he doesn't know much about dogs. He then calls out Puppy's name and asks, "Have you ever seen any other dogs that can talk?" Puppy thinks for a moment, recalling scenes where many other dogs play with their owners. He replies, "I've never seen any of them speak." He reflects that other dogs simply enjoy their time with their owners and bark. He admits, "I've never seen any dogs that can speak like me," which led him to believe that all dogs were afraid of vocal cord removal surgery. As adults, they choose to stay silent. After sharing this, Puppy looks down sadly and calls Chan a boss again. "Am I strange?" he asks. Chan replies that he is not sure. He mentions, "I don't know much about dogs, but it seems like everyone loves theirs." He recalls that one of his acquaintances even took their dog on an overseas trip. Hearing this, Puppy expresses his envy. Chan gently asks, "Is this treatment something you experience often? Your owner treats you like collateral." With a forlorn tone, Puppy asked him not to talk about that, saying, "It makes me feel exhausted." He explains that his owner frequently fights with his wife over him. He adds that when his owner gets drunk, he behaves oddly, even kissing Puppy. Still, in a calm manner, Puppy acknowledges that his owner does feed him and provides a place to sleep, so he endures it. However, he admits that sometimes he thinks about wanting to leave his owner behind. Hearing this, Chan encourages Puppy to discuss his feelings with his owner. Suddenly, Puppy looks taken aback and asks, what will happen to my vocal cords if I do that? Chan reassures him, your owner makes those threats simply because he doesn't realize you can talk. He expresses that he has sensed his owner's bad temperament and has been thinking that he isn't a good person after listening to Puppy's stories. Chan explains that life outside can be tougher than what Puppy faces at home, suggesting he might suffer even more. Instead of enduring that, he advises Puppy to have a proper conversation with his owner, hoping it might improve their situation. Puppy considers this and agrees to follow Chan's advice. In response, Chan gently pats Puppy on the head, affirming that it is a good idea. After their conversation, Chan checks the time and notes that it has been over 10 minutes. He asks when Puppy's owner will return. Puppy shrugs, admitting he doesn't know. He adds that he himself had to wait an hour once. Chan comments on how much Puppy is enduring, feeling a sense of sympathy for him. Puppy then cutely asks, can I inquire about one more thing? Chan, polite as ever, encourages him, go ahead. With an innocent expression, Puppy asks, what is neutering surgery? He explains that he heard he would be getting it next Monday. I overheard my owner and his wife discussing it. Feeling a bit embarrassed, Chan takes a moment before responding. Puppy presses him further, asking, why do I need to undergo that surgery? In response, Chan shifts to the side, grabs some paper and a pencil, and with a confident demeanor, he assures him, I'll explain it through drawing. He kindly requests, calm down and pay close attention. Chan begins explaining the details of neutering surgery to Puppy. He mentions that in a world where many people have pets, neutering has become a significant concern for pet guardians. He notes that numerous guardians opt for the procedure to help their pets stay healthy, but it is not a requirement for every pet. He explains that many guardians find compatible partners for their pets and enjoy their lives together as a new family. This decision is made out of love for their pets, leading guardians to carefully consider their options before choosing between neutering or allowing their pets to breed. After sharing this information, Chan poses a question. What would happen if a pet could speak? Suddenly, Puppy's mood shifts to anger as he begins to grasp the true reason behind neutering surgery. With a firm tone, he declares, I don't want it. He insists, I won't undergo the procedure even if it costs me my life. Chan watches him calmly as Puppy questions, why should I have to endure such a cruel procedure? Tears well up in his eyes as he asks, have I ever stolen another dog's bones, or have I ever pooped or peed in random places? Chan reassures him gently the neutering surgery is not about those issues. It is meant for your well-being. However, Puppy responds with an angry tone, insisting, you shouldn't discuss such nonsense. He argues that even if it is for his own good, he cannot allow them to remove something so important from him. Still fuming, he asks Chan, would you be willing to undergo a neutering surgery for the same reason? Chan is taken aback, incredulously asking, Puppy, have you lost your mind? Why would you consider such a thing? In a serious tone, Puppy points out, it wouldn't make sense for me to go through with it, especially since no human would accept such a procedure either. Chan feels a sense of hopelessness as he realizes that Puppy doesn't grasp the difference between humans and dogs. As he covers his mouth in confusion, tears well up in Puppy's eyes. He sadly remarks, this is utterly mortifying. He imagines sweet moments with a female dog and sighs heavily, expressing regret. I haven't even met my destined partner yet. He laments, I've just become an adult dog, old enough to have offspring, and I can hardly believe I'll soon be made into a eunuch. Puppy wonders aloud, what kind of sin did I commit in my past life to deserve this fate? This prompts Chan to realize that perhaps he shouldn't have brought it up in the first place. After a while, as Puppy begins to calm down, Chan offers him some water and encourages him to drink. Puppy accepts the water and settles down on the floor. Chan sits beside him, placing a hand gently on his head. Do you feel calmer now? Chan asks. Puppy responds politely, yes, I feel a little better now. I'm sorry for my outburst earlier. He explains the topic was just so frightening, I couldn't help but react that way. Chan reassures him there's no need to worry about it. Then, in a straightforward manner, Chan asks, now that you understand what neutering surgery entails, should you tell your owner that you don't want it? Maybe they understand your concerns. Puppy shakes his head. No, there's no need to do that. He solemnly continues, while I'm not happy about the situation, I had this owner-pet relationship since birth. I've always believed I must faithfully follow my owner's wishes. Puppy pauses, looking down, then adds, everyone else seems to live this way, so I thought it was right for me to do the same. With a sad tone, he adds, such a life can hardly be called living at all. He declares, to truly live, I must cut ties with my owner. After expressing this, he thanks Chan, saying, it is because of you that I can make this decision. Chan is taken aback by this revelation. He quickly urges Puppy to wait, clarifying, I suggested a conversation with your owner, not a complete severance of your relationship. But Puppy insists it's unnecessary. This outcome was already destined. Chan gently urges him to reconsider, reminding him, I mentioned it would be much harder outside. Puppy retorts defiantly, I don't care. He challenges Chan, asking, do you really believe I wouldn't suffer just as much, whether inside or outside the house? He points out, if a vital part of my body is at risk, then surely it is reasonable for me to escape that environment. Chan pauses for a moment, acknowledging the logic in Puppy's response. He nods, admitting, you have a valid point. Puppy states, I've made my decision and hope that you will assist me. He politely asks if he can remove his collar first. Chan agrees and unfastens the collar. As soon as it comes off, Puppy relaxes and stretches his neck. Chan watches, wondering if it's appropriate to do this. Taking a few deep breaths, Puppy remarks that he feels refreshed. Chan then asks, is there anything else I can do to help? With the morning light filtering in and his owner approaching from the direction of the convenience store, Puppy comments affirmatively. He expresses his desire for Chan to help him have a conversation with his owner before he leaves. Surprised, Chan asks, are you planning to say goodbye before departing? With a calm demeanor, Puppy explains, although our relationship hasn't been great, I still want to bid farewell. I know I've resented him, but I still care for him. I feel the need to clarify my feelings. Understanding the situation, Chan nods and assures Puppy, I'll help you with this final conversation. As they continue talking, the store's door swings open and the owner returns. Chan stands up from the floor and remarks calmly, it is good the owner has come back, Puppy thought. However, when the owner sees Puppy without his collar, he looks surprised and demands, what's going on? Puppy stares back at him, unfazed. The owner then sharply asks, why isn't Puppy wearing his collar? Turning to Chan, the owner questions, were you the one who removed it? A wave of nervousness washes over Chan, but he manages to address the customer respectfully. Puppy has something he wants to share. The owner, now visibly annoyed, is taken aback and exclaims, dog, speaking, this is absurd. Just then, Puppy speaks up. His voice is serious, addressing the owner. Did you really leave to get your wallet after leaving me here? Puppy asks. Do you honestly intend to make me part of Eunuch next week? The owner's eyes widen in shock. He stares at Puppy, utterly astonished. Finally, he admits, what you said, it's true. Puppy rubs his paws on the floor and thanks the owner for his honest response. Stepping forward, Puppy says, I will be leaving from this day forward. There's no need for you to ask why or search for me. With a simple farewell, he turns to go. He wishes the owner good health. The owner looks confused, while Chan watches the interaction closely. As Puppy opens the store's door, he glances back at Chan and sweetly asks, can I return later? Chan thinks for a moment, then smiles and assures him, you're always welcome to come back. Puppy beams at him, expressing his gratitude for Chan's kindness. I hope your business thrives, he adds. Watching this exchange, the owner's expression turns sorrowful. Tears well up in his eyes as he calls for his dog. Chan, noticing the owner's distress, grows concerned for him. After that moment, Chan takes a few minutes to tidy up the store and ties a large bag of trash. Standing back, he feels a sense of relief and laughs lightly, commenting, peace has finally returned. As he reflects on past events, he recalls the moment when the dog's owner rushed out of the store, desperately trying to catch up with his pet. In his haste, he had left his wallet behind. Chan had attempted to alert him, but the owner was so consumed with worry that he didn't hear Chan's voice over the sound of his own distress. Tears streamed down his face as he chased after his dog. Now, as Chan dragged the trash bag from the store, he contemplated whether the owner's frantic pursuit indicated his love for the pet, despite his shortcomings as a guardian. Crossing the street to dispose of the trash, Chan wondered about the relationship between Puppy and his owner. He realized they would have to work through their issues on their own. While lost in thought, Chan suddenly heard a soft sneezing sound. He turned to see the same little girl from before, riding her bicycle and sneezing adorably. Recognizing her, he smiled and recalled how she had made presents for Mother's Day. She looked up at him with a cheerful expression, called him Mister, and waved enthusiastically. They both entered the store, and the little girl sat down at the table, looking at him with wide, curious eyes. Chan calmly picked up a cup and poured hot water into it, seemingly ignoring her as she watched, confused. Then, bringing the cup and a small packet of medicine over to her, he gently suggested, take the medicine since you were sneezing. He added with a smile, once you're finished, he will bring her some cocoa. However, her face falls, and she looks down. In a soft voice, she calls him Uncle, and explains that she doesn't want to take the medicine. She admits she doesn't have any money and asks him not to give her the medicine since she can't afford to pay for it. Realizing she is just trying to avoid the medicine, Chan chuckles to himself, deciding to change his approach. He tells her that if she doesn't take the medicine now, she might have to get an injection later. Instantly, her eyes widen in alarm. Seeing her reaction, he calmly asks, do you still want to skip it? With a reluctant sigh, she murmurs, I have no choice. Please, Chan hands her the medicine and the cup of hot water. assuring her it's fine and encouraging her with a gentle smile. As she takes the medicine and enjoys the moment, Chan politely calls her attention. "Why didn't you come by on Friday morning to prepare gifts?" he asks. She replies that yesterday she had piano lessons. With enthusiasm, she explains, "I have piano class every Friday morning." Chan nods in understanding, commenting on how diligent she is for getting up early for her lessons. However, while she sips her medicine, her expression turns serious as she mentions that she has a cold today and can't make a gift. She worries about sneezing on it and ruining the present. Calmly, she tells him that she just came by to say hello. Chan feels a bit confused and while pouring cocoa into a glass, glances back at her. He asks if that's really the case. She confirms that it is, adding that convenience stores are places where you can buy anything. But since she doesn't have much pocket money, she plans to return later after saving enough. Curious, he asks how much she intends to save. She replies that she plans to save 2 won and politely mentions that her mom gives her 5,001 each day. Hearing her response, Chan mentally calculates how often she will be able to come by and realizes that it means she can visit once every 4 days. He starts to worry that with Mother's Day less than 2 weeks away, she might not be able to make all of her gifts in time. Watching her drink water cutely, he thinks about how impressive she is, but he doesn't want to pressure her into spending money as he contemplates how to encourage her to come by just to play. His eyes suddenly land on the lollipops. An idea strikes him, and he picks up 2 of them. Feeling confident this will work, he approaches her, hands her the cocoa, and carefully explains that it is a reward for taking her medicine. He reminds her to be cautious since it is hot. She takes the glass with a smile, thanking him. Then Chan asks her how much money she has at the moment. With a bright expression, she replies that she has exactly 5,001. Chan smiles and says, "That is great." He pulls out the 2 lollipops and mentions that coincidentally it cost 5,001. He also adds that the convenience store has a wide variety of other candies available for the same price, assuring her that he will show her which ones she can buy. As she looks at him, he tells her that if she is not busy, she can come by any time with her 5,001. She nods in agreement, places the coins in his hand, and happily takes the 2 lollipops, saying she will buy them today. Chan thanks her for that. However, after grabbing the candies, she stares at them with a puzzled expression. He asks her what is wrong and if she wants to change flavors. She simply asks him about his favorite flavor. Surprised, he responds, "Why do you want to give them to me?" He urges keep them and enjoy them later. "I don't need them." But she playfully shakes both lollipops and explains, "I already finished the cocoa you gave me. My mom says eating too many sweets isn't good for health." Chan smiles at her cute face, though he feels a little amused that health advice has suddenly entered the conversation. She adds, sharing tasty food makes it even better, and holds out the lollipops for him. "Let's eat them together." With a resigned expression, he realizes he has no choice but to accept. He then asks, "Which flavor do you prefer?" She replies, "I like sour flavors." Chan picks a chocolate-flavored lollipop and says, "Then I'll eat this one." As he takes it from her hand, he feels slightly awkward, thinking it almost looks like he's taking candy from a child. He watches her sipping her cocoa and wonders if all kids these days are this cheerful and kind. He recalls the manager's words about dragon children. And Chan recalls that the manager mentioned young dragons can discern between good and bad people based on color. He thinks about how smart this little girl is in figures. She is unlikely to be easily swayed by strangers. Just then, the little girl sets her glass down on the table and says she has something to ask him. She innocently inquires, "Do you live nearby?" After a moment of thought, he responds, "My house is just a 3-minute walk away." Her eyes widen in amazement as she exclaims, "That's really close." Chan agrees, knowing it is indeed nearby, and then asks, "Do you live close as well?" She shakes her head and explains, "It takes me an hour to get there by subway." He comments, "That sounds quite far. Is your school nearby?" She confirms, "Yes, it is," and explains, "I get off at the academy station and then walk to school." She beams as she continues, "My school is very large, with many older sisters, younger children, and friends my age." With excitement, she adds, "My mother also works nearby." At that moment, Chan considers that it doesn't sound like a typical school. Perhaps it is a private institution. Then he asks her, "Did you ride your bike here today?" She enthusiastically replies, "Yes," and hops down from the chair to show him the location of her mother's workplace. Stepping out of the store with him, she gestures toward a tall building in the distance and says, "I slept there today." She explains, "Usually I go home with my mom after school." As Chan looks at the building, he notices how tall it is with a prominent K logo displayed at the top. He expresses his amazement, commenting, "It seems like a great company." The little girl looks back at him with a bright smile, agreeing. "I really like her company," she says, "and I appreciate it even more today." Chan feels a bit puzzled by her enthusiasm, but she happily confirms that she is excited because he lives nearby. With a cute smile, she adds, "I'll get to see you often, and that makes me very happy." Chan grins slightly and replies, "I don't plan on working here for long." Hearing his words, she feels a twinge of sadness, while Chan thinks to himself that he needs to return to work. Initially, he had planned to stay until he found a job, but he can't help but admit that this place has offered him some rare experiences. He recalls various moments in the store, the fireworks from fake IDs, the purifying dragon scales, being scolded by a chihuahua, and even giving love advice to a succubus despite never having been in love himself. Realizing all this, he glances at the little girl's sad expression and thinks that he can't remain a convenience store clerk forever. But then he suddenly questions whether he is being too honest with her. Gently, he places his hand on her head, where he notices a few tears glistening in her eyes. "I won't be quitting anytime soon," he reassures her softly, "so there's no need for you to feel sad." She looks up at him and asks, "Are you serious?" He nods, confirming it, then adds, "There's something important I want to tell you. I advise you not to get too close to adults you don't know well," he says, his tone gentle but firm. She looks at him confused and asks, "Why is that necessary?" "Getting too close to someone unfamiliar can be dangerous," he explains. He gently inquires, "Has your mother never warned you about following strangers?" Seeing her sadness deepen, Chan softly assures her, "I'm only saying this for your safety," and asks her to keep it in mind, but she quickly changes the subject, pointing out that he helped her with the Mother's Day gift and even gave her medicine for her cough. He feels a bit worn out by her persistent reasoning, but she insists that since he's helped her so many times, she considers him a good adult. Chan finds himself at a loss, as she always seems to have another point to make. Putting aside the conversation, he tells her that next time she comes by, she should remember to buy a piece of drawing paper from the stationery store. She nods, says goodbye, and heads out. Chan returns to the store and resumes his work, calmly setting bottles on the shelves. Just then, the manager arrives and greets him with a cheerful "Good morning." He glances over and returns the greeting with a nod and a smile. The manager sets her bag down on the counter, glances at the door, and asks if it is really broken. She comments that it must have been a tough night for him. Chan, still focused on his tasks, thanks her for her understanding. Shifting her mood to a lighter one, she pulls out a magical smartphone from her bag and shows it to him with a bright smile. She explains that she got this for him as a gift since he worked so hard last night. He looks at the device as she explains that she had another phone at home, so she decided to bring this one for him. She adds that she has already reported the incident to the police and contacted various places to prepare for his needs. With a playful tone, she says, "I'll show you how to use it." However, noticing her slightly dazed expression, Chan asks with concern, "Are you feeling okay?" Still in good spirits, she replies, "I'm just really sleepy." She begins to explain the phone's apps to him, pointing out that there are currently 3 installed. First, she tells him, "Don't worry about the confirmed micro app." Next, she moves on to the second app called Shield. She explains that this icon represents defensive magic and operates automatically, so he doesn't need to activate it manually. Then she introduces the third app, which has a refresh button icon. She says with enthusiasm, "This one is for recovery magic." Chan watches, feeling a bit confused as she explains that using this app is similar to using a camera application. She adds that after he adjusts the focus on the area he wants to repair, he simply takes a picture and follows the app's instructions. After finishing her explanation, she asks, "Is there anything you don't understand?" He replies, "Everything is clear for now." Her face lights up with happiness as she encourages him, "Try it out right away." Chan opens the recovery magic app and aims it at the broken door of the store, muttering to himself that he first needs to adjust the focus. Meanwhile, the manager beams with delight, assuring him it's no different from a regular phone, so you can use it comfortably. He nods in agreement and focuses the camera on the door. As he does, the app instructs him to press the rewind button to specify the desired time period. Surprised by this feature, he calls out to the manager, "Do I just press that button?" However, just as he is about to do so, she quickly stops him and urgently tells him, "Stay still." She insists, "Do not move." She explains that any movement while using a recovery magic app could cause errors and he must remain still. Understanding the importance of her instructions, he stands frozen like a statue. After making sure he is in the right position, she glances at the phone and says, "Now it looks good." Before adding, "You can press the rewind button and wait for the image of the door to fully reappear." He nods, takes a deep breath, and presses the rewind button. Instantly, the app begins rewinding all previous scenes, showing moments such as when the wolf-like man entered and when the bull-headed figure crashed into the store's door, causing it to break. Chan stands frozen in disbelief as he watches the scene unfold. On the screen, the store's door appears perfectly intact. The boss quickly urges him to stop the playback. He presses the stop button, and the app freezes that exact moment. Images from different points in the past flash before his eyes. Meanwhile, The manager gently places a hand on his shoulder and explains, if you press the activate button now, the door will be restored to its original state. Still astonished, Chan finally presses the button. Immediately, a strange magical force envelops the door and blue magic circle begins to spin around it as the process takes place. The broken pieces of the door float back into place, reattaching themselves as if guided by an unseen force. Chan watches in awe while the manager gazes at the transformation, equally amazed. Within seconds, the door is fully restored, gleaming as it did before. The manager steps forward to inspect it, but Chan's mouth hangs open in shock. Grasping the handle, she admires the door's impeccable restoration and asks him, "Do you think it's been repaired well?" However, with a look of sadness, Chan glances at his phone and asks, "Is there truly nothing wrong with it?" She turns to him, curiosity in her eyes, and asks, "What kind of problem are you referring to?" Chan explains, upon reflection, this appears to be time-reversing magic. He recalls that the phone also displayed images of the guests and wonders if this magic doesn't affect them as well. With a heavy heart, he adds, "If that's the case, those guests might have reverted to children." As he speaks, the manager interjects, asking him to hold on and assuring him, "There's no need to be concerned about that issue." She explains, while this magic is indeed time magic, it does not impact living beings. She emphasizes that it is something no one in this world can accomplish. Confused, Chan asks, "Is that really true?" He sighs with relief, remarking that it aligns with what he expected from her. The manager smiles sweetly and elaborates. The effects of time magic on living beings remain an unknown territory still under research. Wizards worldwide have been studying it for decades without making any significant progress. A vast amount of money has been spent in the pursuit, and the conclusion is that the possibility of time magic affecting living beings is currently zero. She reassures him, "Use the magic with confidence." Chan nods in agreement, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders as he realizes he has been worrying unnecessarily. He asked her, "Can I really use the phone?" With still sleepy eyes, she beams and confirms, "Yes, I stayed up all night completing the registration just to give it to you." She recalls a scene from her home, where she was busy calling different centers to arrange the phone usage permission. Surprised, he asks, "You truly stayed up all night?" She nods and explains that anyone wanting to use the phone must prepare many things. She adds that she was overwhelmed with registering at the department and contacting various places. Chan inquires if this phone is common here. She shakes her head and replies that it is a special device equipped with a magic stone. She also mentions that while it is rare, if he downloads the magic formulas, he can access a wider range of spells. However, she warns him that downloading the formulas will require a lot of data, so he must connect to Wi-Fi. She adds that getting after-service help can be challenging, so he should use it with care. Chan looks at her with admiration. "You're amazing," he says. "Where did you get this phone?" With a happy demeanor, she tells him that she received it from an acquaintance a few years ago. Stepping forward, she mentions that she had forgotten about it and only just brought it out for him. He thanks her sincerely and assures her that he will make good use of it. As she prepares to put on her work jacket, she looks at him and asks, "Do you have any other questions?" With a somewhat surprised expression, he admits that he does. He then inquires, "Can dogs actually talk in this world?" The manager turns to him in surprise at his question. Chan proceeds to share everything about Puppy. After a while, now dressed in his own clothes and ready to head home, he stands by the door. While she prepares for her day shift, she reflects on what he told her. She mentions that no matter how she considers it, the dog seems more like a mascot. With a confused look, Chan asks, "Isn't a mascot an animal with extraordinary and mysterious powers?" Standing at the counter, she contemplates this and explains, while it is somewhat similar, the term has a different meaning in our world. He elaborates, "In our realm, all animals with special abilities are classified as mascots, regardless of the species. Any creature with special powers falls into this category." Moreover, she adds, most of these mascots are highly intelligent and can understand multiple languages to a certain extent. Just as Puppy understood Chan's words with a polite tone, she comments, "It's been a long time since I've seen a dog use language so fluently." Feeling a bit awkward, Chan turns his face away as she continues explaining. She shares, in fact, mascots are direct descendants of normal animals, making it common for them to rarely encounter each other. She adds that, aside from their high intelligence, mascots possess other abilities. A simple reason or motivation can trigger them to instinctively realize these powers. Chan remarks, "It is truly amazing." However, she shifts her tone and mentions, "I heard the same dog will be returning," expressing her concern about it. Chan, feeling puzzled, calmly asks, "Why are you worried? Is there something significant at stake?" She explains, "As I mentioned earlier, mascots are very rare animals, making it extremely difficult to see them daily." Then her expression brightens as she passes him a cute smile, adding, "Mascots are also very expensive." She notes, even without doing anything, they can fetch $1 billion. Chan starts to sweat, his face growing worried as he thinks about how the owner with a puffer fish face must regret losing such a valuable animal. She continues explaining, "This is why I am concerned. I worry that the owner might be in danger." Suddenly, Chan tells her, "I heard they said they would come back." She looks at him in amazement and casually remarks, "I'll find out when that happens." As he approaches the store door, she waves goodbye and warns him to be careful since it is raining tonight. Chan grabs the door handle, agrees with her, and comments that he is heading out. Later, the night falls again and heavy rain pours outside. Chan finds himself back in the store for his night shift, calmly gazing out through the glass door. Observing the downpour, he remarks to himself, "It's really coming down." As droplets splatter against the glass, he realizes that on a night like this, he will have to clean the floor thoroughly. He sighs, thinking that taking out the trash will be a hassle as well. While he contemplates the evening with a clear mind, his phone suddenly rings, signaling a new message. He reaches into his right pants pocket, then remembers that his new phone, which is in his left pocket, is the one that is ringing. He pulls it out and glances at the screen, noticing that there is indeed a message waiting for him. When he opens it, he sees that the message is from the manager girl. She greets him warmly and informs him that the phone also has a translation app, which he can use whenever he needs it. She then sends him a picture of some food in a calm and cheerful tone. She messages that she's currently enjoying a drink with seafood pancakes, then teasingly asks if he feels jealous. Chan reads the message and feels a sense of warmth and relief. A smile spreads across his face as he imagines her expression, thinking to himself that truly there is no boss like her in any part-time job. He wonders who else would sacrifice their sleep just to hand an employee a magical phone. As he daydreams about these sweet moments, he also thinks ahead to his first month's salary and what kind of treat he should give his boss as thanks. Lost in thought while still standing at the door, a customer enters the store. With a friendly tone, Chan greets him and invites him inside. To his surprise, he recognizes the man as the same dog-faced customer from before. In a stern voice, the man asks what he's daydreaming about and demands to know where the umbrella stand is. With raindrops still on his face, the customer insists that Chan bring the stand quickly, adding that he won't step inside until he does. Chan promptly retrieves the umbrella stand, after which the customer begins selecting items from the store. Pointing at a few cans of drinks, he asks Chan whether they're any good. Chan simply replies that he isn't sure. The customer is taken aback and, feeling a bit frustrated, sternly questions if Chan plans to slack off at work again today. As the customer speaks, Chan tries to calm his thoughts silently, wishing the man would just go to another store. With the umbrella now placed in the stand at the entrance, Chan and the customer stand at the counter. Sean mentions that the alcohol can is part of a buy one, get one free promotion and asks if the customer doesn't want to try it. The customer responds that he doesn't need 2 cans. Chan, still eager to make a sale, notes that he knows the customer won't take the second can, but insists he won't lose anything by taking advantage of the deal. The customer holds up just 1 can of alcohol and dismissively says it doesn't matter to him. He then tells Chan to go ahead and drink 1 can himself. Stunned, Chan asks if the customer is really suggesting he take it. With sincerity, Chan addresses the customer, saying he appreciates the gesture, but he is sure the man has given him something before, and he doesn't mind if it is an essential item. However, he adds that he could get into trouble if he drinks alcohol. Calmly, the customer pulls out his card and hands it to Chan, requesting a bag as well. He then casually asks, "Have you ever drunk alcohol during your night shift?" Chan politely replies, "I haven't," and wonders, where would an employee even drink alcohol while working, even during the night shift? He informs the customer the total cost for the alcohol cans is 2,001. In response, the customer nonchalantly says, "It happens occasionally for me." Chan's eyes widen in shock. His mouth falls open as he places the alcohol in the bag. With genuine surprise, he asks, "Is that even allowed?" The customer shoots him an annoyed look and orders, "Don't make me work overtime on weekends, just let me go." Stunned by the comment, Chan can't help but wonder if the customer really sacrifices his precious weekends from the company while sober. He worries that if drinking during a night shift is allowed, he might be only one who hasn't taken advantage of it. As these thoughts swirl in his mind, the customer walks away, clutching just his 1 can of alcohol. Just then, a flying horse descends from the sky and lands near the store. It is none other than Yuna herself. She carries a small bag slung over her shoulder and gracefully dismounts from a horse. Turning to it with a smile, she asks it to wait for her. With a few light steps, she enters the convenience store. As she opens the door, her bright smile lights up the room. She calls out Chan's name and happily announces that she is back. However, when she asks how he is doing, she notices that he is sitting at the counter with a sad expression, his gaze fixed on the surface below. Curious, she approaches him and sees that he is staring at a can of alcohol sitting in front of him. Alarmed, she suddenly asks, "Are you drinking?" Chan, caught off guard by her presence, quickly looks up at her in surprise. He hides the can under the counter and freezes in place. With a smile, he reassures her, saying he isn't drinking. He explains that the can was given to him by a customer and adds that he was just contemplating how to deal with it. He politely expresses his concern for the customer. Yuna, curious, asked him, "Why do you feel that way?" With a serious and nervous expression, he begins to explain about the dog-faced customer, describing him as a kobold with the face of a chihuahua. He admits he fears getting fired. Yuna chuckles lightly at his description, remarking, "That's quite a unique worry." She adds, "It's clear you care about the customer. Maybe this job does suit you after all." Shifting the topic, she mentions her own past experiences. "I used to be very exhausted in this line of work," she says. Chan looks at her with confusion, wondering if she had worked here before. Yuna stretches her arms. "I briefly worked at the store, but left soon after," she replies. She begins to share her experiences, explaining that even during her short time there, she learned many harsh realities. Openly swearing was commonplace, she continues, and customers would arrive with bags of already eaten snacks demanding refunds. Lost in her thoughts, she imagines the scene where she worked alongside her sister, the store's boss. As they both stand at the counter, an orc customer approaches with an angry expression, complaining, "I have a stomach ache after eating a packet of snacks." Yuna, visibly exhausted by his demeanor, listens while the manager calmly explains that they cannot issue a refund since the customer has already eaten the snacks. Turning to Chan, Yuna shares, "While handling one or two complaints is manageable, it became overwhelming when it happened repeatedly, leading me to strike a customer in frustration. She mimics throwing a punch at the orc, who stumbles back as a result. The manager quickly intervenes, grabbing Yuna to prevent further escalation. He admonishes her, such actions are unacceptable." Reflecting on the incident, Yuna feels remorse and admits to Chan, "It was my sister's intervention that stopped me from hitting the customer, but it ultimately led to my decision to quit." She adds, "Just recalling that day gives me a headache." Chan watches her with empathy and expresses, "I truly sympathize with your situation." Then, with a more serious tone, he asks, "Why have you come today?" It isn't a scheduled delivery day. Yuna suddenly recalls something important and shifts her mood back to normal. She urges him, "Look at me." She explains, "I'm not here for a delivery. Instead, she has come to ask for his help." Chan looks confused. "What kind of help do you need from me?" he asks. In response, she opens her bag and pulls out a strange object. She reveals an original heart. Chan freezes in shock at the sight. Holding the heart in her hand, Yuna explains, "It's called a demonic nucleus." She asks him if he can touch it and with a smile, requests his assistance. However, Chan quickly declines. "I can't touch it," he states. Yuna, puzzled, questions, "Why are you hesitant?" She tries to reassure him. "It's safe this time. It's already been purified." Chan shakes his head firmly. Regardless of whether it's dangerous or not, he says, "I have no desire to touch that disgusting thing." He adds, "Why should I touch it? What exactly is a demonic nucleus?" Yuna explains, "It comes from beasts that emerge from portals, commonly known as demons. This object is akin to their heart." She adds, "A demonic nucleus is a mass of magical energy, which makes its energy content quite high. Because of this, it's very valuable and primarily used as fuel for trains." As well as being related to the magical demon product her sister ordered, Chan feels surprised by her explanation and gestures toward the demonic nucleus, asking, "Did the boss order it as well?" Yuna shakes her head and clarifies, "What my sister ordered was something different." She prompts him to recall the dragon scale she brought before. Suddenly, Chan remembers and asks, "Are you referring to the pus that oozed out?" Yuna confirms his memory, explaining, "That's right, my sister had ordered a stuffed demon at that time." She adds, "She left it at the location where they worked on those scales." Yuna emphasizes purification is crucial for stuffed demons, and because she couldn't trust that supplier, she asked you for help. She continues, "If this demonic nucleus, processed in the same place, doesn't react to your anti-agic constitution, it should pose no issue." As Chan listens to her explanations, he stares at the demonic nucleus placed on the counter. Yuna, excited, encourages him, "Touch it." With a racing heart, Chan hesitantly reaches out and places his hand on it. Suddenly, there is a big blast, and a pink-colored gas erupts from the nucleus. Both Yuna and Chan react quickly, rushing out of the store to escape the strange occurrence. Standing outside, Chan begins to cough violently. When he glances back at the store, he is shocked to see that the entire place is engulfed in the pink gas. He calls out to Yuna, his voice raised in frustration. "You assured me it would be fine, that it wasn't dangerous. What is this foul-smelling smoke?" With a grimace, he adds, "The odor is truly awful." As Chan expresses his discomfort, Yuna's demeanor shifts to one of anger and seriousness. Seething, she punches a nearby metal rod, bending it with force. In a strict tone, she calls out for some guys, cursing them for messing up the job and lying about it. "I'm going to clean it all up," she declares with determination. She strides forward, telling Chan, "I'll be calling the trader for a moment." Chan watches her with wide eyes, feeling a sense of nervousness. As she rounds the corner of the store, he mutters to himself, "Yuna is genuinely angry." He stands near the bent rods. Feeling slightly more at ease despite the chaos around him, he ponders that it makes sense. Yet, he still worries about what to do regarding the situation with the store. He glances at the interior again, realizing he doesn't even have the courage to step inside due to the terrible smell. He notes that if this continues, it will be hard to receive customers tonight. Lost in thought, he suddenly hears someone call out to him, addressing him as boss. Turning to the source of the voice, he sees the same robot that once fell outside their store. "Chan," the robot says. Chan smiles, welcoming it politely. "Are you the one who had the mishap on the bicycle?" With a cheerful expression, the robot thanks him for remembering. However, the robot quickly shifts focus to the store. It points out that the smoke and odor are the result of the demonic nucleus purification process. "Are you seriously working on a demonic nucleus at a convenience store?" the robot asks. Feeling a bit nervous and embarrassed, Chan replies, "It looks like that's the case." He apologizes to the robot, addressing it as a customer. "You might need to head to another convenience store, though. We can't operate right now because of the foul smell." Upon hearing this, the robot quickly looks back at him in surprise. Suddenly, loud voices are heard coming from behind the store. It's Yuma speaking on the phone. She raises her voice, demanding to know about the demonic nucleus and what the swindlers are babbling about. "I don't believe this will end with just terminating the contract," she asserts. "We will seek compensation for damages." Both Chan and the robot listen intently as the trader responds. Yuna's frustration grows. She angrily asks, "If you don't have the money, are you just going to walk away from this?" After a heated exchange, she declares, "I'll handle it myself," and instructs him, "Just wait." With that, she strides back to Chan, her frustration evident. She delivers a powerful punch to the wall, creating a crack at the impact point, and leans against it, visibly upset. As she worries about the situation, Chan gently calls out to her, "Are you okay?" Yuna looks up at him with wide, innocent eyes and steps closer. "I'm sorry," she apologizes. "I got really angry because of that trader." Chan inquires about what she said. Flashing a cute smile, she recounts that the trader claimed they did everything right, and one of them even suggested that it was her mistake. She asks Chan, "Isn't that funny?" Hearing this, Chan reflects that it is clear to anyone that it is a shady company. He then shifts the conversation back to the smoke and the foul odor, asking about it. With a sad expression, Yuna agrees and explains, since it's the weekend, all the other companies are closed. It's just me and my sister taking the brunt of this sudden request. She apologizes again for the inconvenience. Chan reassures her, "It's okay. It's not your fault." As they continue their conversation, the robot speaks up from behind them, simply stating, "I'll take a look." At this, both Chan and Yuna turn to him, their eyes widening in surprise. Chan asks, "You really want to investigate this?" The robot flashes a sweet smile from his screen and confirms, "I can handle it immediately." Chan looks stunned and tries to warn him, "It might be a bit dangerous." However, the robot recalls the previous incident when Chan helped him with the bicycle. He tells Chan how deeply moved he was by that kindness, something he has never experienced before in his life. He explains that this is why he genuinely wants to repay Chan. With a confident look, the robot assures them, "There won't be any unexpected problems, so you can leave it all to me." He adds, "I will take care of it right away." As he strides toward the convenience store, Chan and Yuna watch him in surprise. Yuna comments with a hint of sadness, "I feel shameless for asking for help," but wonders, is the robot a regular customer? Chan replies simply, "He isn't a regular one." As the robot examines the demonic nucleus still sitting on the counter, Chan explains to Yuna, "The robot fell because of his bike a few days ago, and both he and your sister helped him at that time." Hearing this, Yuna remarks, "Both you and your sister are incredibly kind." Meanwhile, the robot turns on a light on his face and carefully reaches for the demonic nucleus. Yuna asks Chan, "What is the robot doing?" Chan explains to Yuna, "The robot is the factory director and specializes in slaughtering monsters." As the robot picks up the demonic nucleus from the store, Yuna begins to understand the situation and comments, "This must be why the robot is so confident." Chan, still confused, asks her to clarify. She tells him, "The robot is a type of mechanical doll equipped with advanced technological abilities. Since he is the director, it implies that his skills are top-notch and reliable." As they converse, the robot holds the demonic nucleus in one hand and activates a current at his fingertip with the other. When he touches his finger to the nucleus, a blue current suddenly emits from it, enveloping the entire area. Chan and Yuna watch in shock, their mouths agape and eyes wide. After a moment, the robot emerges from the store, the current still crackling around his body. He holds the purified demonic nucleus with both hands and presents it to them. Winking, he announces the purification process is 100% complete. He addresses Chan as boss, praising him for how well everything was handled. Seeing the robot's success, Human beams with delight, exclaiming how amazing he is. However, Chan remains taken aback and asks, "Are you all right?" Given the immense electric current that just occurred, the robot reassures him, saying it is a natural phenomenon that facilitates purification, so everything is fine. As Chan examines the demonic nucleus more closely, he notices that its color has completely changed. "What's happening?" he inquires. Still holding the nucleus, the robot explains, this color change occurs when purification is complete, but then his tone shifts to seriousness. "My analysis indicates it has been purified twice." He turns to Yuna and advises her strongly, "You should avoid dealing with the company you spoke with earlier." With a nervous expression and beads of sweat on her forehead, she nods in agreement. The robot continues, "The analysis shows the first purification was only 80% complete. If we hadn't supervised the process, it would have surely exploded." He envisions the scene where orcs are handling the demonic nucleus, chuckling as they suggest, "Use nasal water instead of the expensive purified water." Realizing this, the robot remarks, "The price of purified water has been rising sharply lately, which likely led them to cut corners to save money." As Chan absorbs this information, he fixes Yina with a piercing gaze. Anger wells up within her. She expresses her outrage at those responsible for mishandling the demonic nucleus, declaring in a fierce tone, "I will separate their meat from their bones." After hearing all this, the robot's mood shifts to one of sadness. Speaking softly, he acknowledges the heavy workload lately, which he can understand. Concerned, Chan inquires further about the situation. The robot explains, around May, the activation of the gate decreased, leading to a diminished supply of monsters. Consequently, the factory's workload has significantly lessened. This has prompted others to resort to dangerous methods. He adds, "Sadly, my own factory hasn't received any work requests since last month, leaving me to wander aimlessly and feel frustrated." After hearing the robot's predicament, Chan remains calm and reassures him that there is no need for concern. The robot looks puzzled, prompting Chan to explain Yuna is currently seeking new partners. Yuna flashes a warm smile, her hopeful eyes meeting the robot's. She enthusiastically offers him a chance to join her. She cheerfully informs him that they have numerous requests, providing plenty of work opportunities. With a polite demeanor, she addresses him as a robot and asks, "Would you like to sign a contract with us?" Upon hearing such kind words, the robot feels a mix of sadness and gratitude. He nods in agreement. "I'll sign the contract right away." The two of them happily shake hands, sealing their partnership. Yuna beams with joy, exclaiming, "That's fantastic." She invites him to ride her horse so they can head off to sign the contract. The robot readily agrees, responding with a simple, "Yes." Meanwhile, Chan watches them with a cheerful expression, clapping for their newfound partnership. As they move forward, Yuna is filled with delight. The robot glances back at Chan, a hint of worry on his face. He asks, "Chan, was the second purification done by the boss?" Chan confirms it with a nod. It's true. The robot then notes, "There isn't even purified water in the convenience store, let alone any proper equipment." This piques his curiosity about how the purification was accomplished. Feeling a surge of nervousness, Chan begins to sweat, contemplating whether he should reveal his anti-magic constitution. Just then, Yuna turns back and, with a bright smile, declares it's a secret. She asks the robot not to inquire further. Afterward, Chan pulls out his magical foam and snaps a picture of the wall where Yuna had punched earlier. With a flick of his wrist, he repairs the damage, restoring the wall to its original state. Meanwhile, the robot sits alongside Yuna on the flying horse, and they take off together. As they soar through the sky, the robot looks back at Chan, waving and calling out, "I'll be back soon." Chan glances at his phone, muttering, "I think it would be wrong to let the day pass quietly." He adds, "If a day could go by without incident, I wouldn't wish for anything more." Just as he finishes speaking, a message pops up on his phone, catching him off guard. When he checks it, he realizes it's from Yuna. She introduces herself, mentioning that she got his number from her sister and expresses her gratitude for his help that day. He sees that she thanks him for his work with the robot, noting that Chan almost completed the purification. She compliments him, saying his physique is impressive, and informs him that she will send him the purification fee later. At the end of her message, she requests his assistance in the future. After reading her messages, Chan responds simply that he doesn't really want to ask for money and thanks her instead. However, he suddenly starts to wonder if Yuma is actually a delivery person. He recalls past encounters with her, remembering how powerful she had seen when they talked about monsters earlier. He adds that she doesn't seem like an ordinary delivery person. Chan begins to realize that perhaps all delivery workers in this world are similarly strong. Maybe only the strong can survive in such a demanding environment. Stretching his arms and feeling relaxed, he mutters to himself that he doesn't know for sure, but plans to ask her next time. He wonders if the smell in the store has finally dissipated. As he moves toward the store, he suddenly hears a sound, as if someone has fallen nearby. He quickly turns to see a girl. Concerned, he asks, "Are you okay?" Standing up, she replies, "I'm fine. Sorry for startling you." When Chan looks closer, he is taken aback to realize that she is none other than the same succubus customer from before, now wearing beautiful clothes. She seems equally surprised to see him. With a sad yet cute expression, she calls him boss and once again apologizes for interrupting him while he's working. After that, Chan brings her inside the store and they both take a seat at the table. A couple of cups of coffee are placed in front of them. She once again apologizes for startling him. With a downcast expression, she shares, "I went to the club with my coworkers, but they ignored me and vanished." Tears welling in her eyes, she asks, "Isn't it too much to expect them to include me? How could they leave without me?" Looking at her beauty and hearing her words, Chan is surprised by how different she seems. As she takes a sip of her coffee, he thinks to himself that this must be what they call a woman's transformation. Suddenly, he snaps back to reality, realizing that she made an effort to go to the club but is now so sad. With a serious expression, he addresses her as a customer and asks, "Why are you here?" He questions whether she went to the club to have a good time, noting, "You could have had more fun on your own." She sets her coffee cup back on the table and remains silent. Chan then inquires, "Did you come here in search of true love?" Upon hearing this, she jumps up from the table, clearly frustrated. She places her hands on the surface and exclaims, "It's not like that at all." Chan looks at her confused. She demands to know what is true love anyway. Her voice rises in anger as she reveals, "Today is my first time at the club. That was all forced by my seniors." She explains that they dragged her along without her consent. As Chan continues to listen, she starts recounting her experience. She had wanted to try casual dating, so she had asked her seniors for advice, but they had unreasonable expectations. They insisted that if I wanted to date, I needed to go to the club and promised to guide me through it. However, when they arrived, her seniors emphasized that practical experience was crucial, and then abandoned her. Leaving her alone and unsure of what to do, still reeling from the situation, she suddenly found herself approached by a fisherman who asked her to dance. She shook her head, commenting on how awkward it felt. Just then, she remembered the fisherman saying it was the courtship dance of his species, adding to her embarrassment. She explained that while her seniors were busy dancing with guys from various species, they completely ignored her, engaging in flirtatious conversations with other men. She finally managed to shake off the fisherman, but other men continued to approach her, swinging their bodies in an overwhelming manner. With tears welling in her eyes, she confessed to Chan that she felt like she was going to die of embarrassment. After pouring out her heart to him, she added that she truly hated those seniors. Meanwhile, Chan sipped his coffee, a gentle smile on his face as he thought about how tough her experience must have been. The succubus customer sat back down, her expression a mix of cuteness and lingering frustration. Chan kindly asked her, "Did your seniors offer any other advice? You seem to have been through quite a lot." She replied, "They did suggest a few other things, but they weren't particularly helpful." He reflects that their approach is a common one in relationships, recalling that his own friends had similar ideas. Curious, he inquires about her thoughts on trying something different. She pulls out her smartphone and glances at it, then tells him politely, "One of my seniors did recommend a dating app. However, since it's her first time using one, she hesitates because she isn't familiar with how it works." At that moment, Chan asks, "Can I take a look at your phone?" She hands it over to him without hesitation. As he browses the app, he notes the first step is to take a really nice profile picture. She agrees, eager to proceed. When he prepares to snap the picture, she looks at the camera, a small smile on her lips, but she appears frozen in place. Noticing her stiffness, he gently reminds her, "Since it isn't a job interview photo, you should feel free to smile." This only makes her more anxious. She nervously holds her face and admits, "Even the thought of taking a photo makes me jittery." As Chan focuses on her, she expresses her concerns. "My makeup's a mess, and I'm terrible at taking photos." She confesses that she doesn't even take selfies because of it. Just as she spirals into anxiety, Chan suddenly tells her that she's pretty. Her eyes widen in surprise, and he adds politely, "You were beautiful before, but today you look even more radiant." He reassures her there's no need to worry. All you have to do is smile. Encouraged by his kind words, she decides to give it a try. With a warm heart and a blush creeping across her cheeks, she finally relaxes and flashes a genuinely cute smile at him. At this moment, she looks truly beautiful. Seizing the moment, Chan quickly snaps the photo and hands the phone back to her. He tells her, "Now you just need to fill in your information and a greeting for your profile. Once you do that, the system will automatically find a suitable match for you." Her face lights up with happiness as she thanks him for his help. She eagerly starts entering her details with enthusiasm. Just as she is about to finish, a notification pops up announcing that the system has found her a potential match. Astonished, she exclaims, "It looks like I'm matched with someone." She eagerly shows the screen to Chan, revealing that her match is a character from the same lineage as her. She asks what he thinks of this person. Chan glances at the picture, feeling a bit awkward when she describes the guy as very energetic, which contrasts with her own personality. Looking more closely, he notices golden patterns decorating the man's face and body, making him wonder about the unusual style. To his surprise, he also spots a woman's hand with red nail polish resting on the man's shoulder. Chan can't help but question whether the character had cropped a photo from a group picture and uploaded it. As he continues to observe, a new message suddenly pops up on the screen, startling him. The girl glances at it, and her expression brightens. She notices an ancient word in the message, NTR, which is said to mean pure love. Excited, she exclaims that it's quite a cool name. However, without warning, Chan snatches the phone from her hand, leaving her confused about his actions. Calmly, he proceeds to erase all the data from the app. He questions her about the senior who recommended the app, asking, "Do they often play pranks on you?" She looks surprised and replies, "How do you know that?" A vivid memory flashes in her mind, and she responds with astonishment, "You're right. They always pull pranks on me. Every time I get upset, they just say it's cute and ignore how I feel." With a polite expression, she adds, "One of the seniors who went to the club with me today was indeed part of that group." Still bewildered, she wonders, "How did you figure it out?" Upon hearing her words, he begins to grasp the situation and realizes that today's club outing might just be another prank. Understanding this, Chan decides to shift the conversation to a different topic. With a casual demeanor, he asks, "What type of person do you envision for yourself?" Still a bit perplexed, she wonders, "Why are you asking that?" He explains, "I can't help you find a romantic partner if I don't know your ideal type. Honestly, I'm a bit lost." Politely, he adds, "If you have a clear idea of the kind of person you like, it would make it easier to find a match." She processes his question. A thoughtful expression crosses her face. Initially, a vague image of a man appears in her mind, but his features remain obscured. She muses inwardly that she desires someone with whom she can share her innermost feelings, someone she can rely on. She silently wishes for a partner who will listen to her absurd stories with patience. As her thoughts evolve, a clearer picture of that man begins to materialize. She envisions a man who would smile and accept her, even when she feels tired and vulnerable. The image becomes more vivid, and she finally sees the full representation of her ideal partner. However, when she takes a closer look at this figure, she is taken back to realize that the person she has conjured up in her imagination, someone who embodies all her desires, is none other than Chan himself. Lost in thought about him, she suddenly gazes at Chan, her expression filled with surprise. He inquires about what's troubling her, but she quickly leaves the store without a word. As morning arrives, Chan finds himself outside the convenience store cleaning up trash, still pondering the earlier encounter. He wonders if the succubus girl made it home safely, feeling a twinge of concern about her abrupt departure. She had mentioned wanting to go home, and he can't shake the worry that he might have said something to upset her. Chan reflects on how absurd it is for someone like him, who has never experienced love, to offer advice on romance. Lost in these thoughts, he suddenly hears someone call him uncle from behind. Turning around, he is greeted by the familiar sight of the little dragon girl, who beams up at him with a cute smile. John responds with a polite greeting of his own and notices she's holding something in her hands. Curious, he asks, "Did you bring some drawing papers along?" Her eyes light up as she happily replies, "I did." As the little dragon girl runs toward Chan, excitedly proclaiming that she plans to draw for a long time today, her foot catches on a small stone in the street, and she suddenly tumbles to the ground. Alarmed, Chan rushes over, calling out to her in concern. He quickly lifts her up and gently asks, "Are you okay? Did you hurt yourself anywhere?" The little girl responds politely. Assuring him that she is fine, she tries to calm his worries. But just then, a guy with a bunny face approaches, worry etched across his features. He calls out to her, asking, "Are you all right?" Mistakenly believing the little girl is Chan's daughter, he offers some medicine he has on hand, inquiring, "Would you like to take this for her?" Tears well up in the little girl's eyes at the thought of her fall. While Chan feels a blush of embarrassment at the misunderstanding, he glances back at the bunny-faced man trying to process the situation. Afterward, Chan brings the little dragon and girl inside the store and seats her at the counter. Just then, another customer walks into the convenience store, a girl with wings sprouting from her back. With a bright smile, she looks at the little girl and exclaims, "How cute you are." She asks if the girl likes cookies and hands her a few before continuing on her way. As the winged girl leaves, another customer enters, a young boy with a dog-like face. He spots the little girl and beams with joy, mistakenly believing she is Chan's daughter. He tells Chan she's adorable and so pretty before heading out. A moment later, a third customer arrives. Sporting a turtle-like face, he smiles at the little girl and happily comments on how admirable it is that she accompanies her father to work. He offers her some snacks as a gift and adds that just seeing Chan's wonderful daughter cheers him up for the day. Chan glances at the little girl, noticing that she clutches the various treats gifted to her by the customers, yet she appears somewhat downcast. He perceives the situation, realizing that everyone seems to assume he is her father. With a calm demeanor, he reflects that if he had married young, he might have had a daughter like her. Lost in thought, the little girl suddenly calls out to him, apologizing. He looks at her confused and asks why she is apologizing. With a sad expression, the little dragon girl replies, "I'm sorry. I feel like I'm bothering you while you're busy." She offers another apology for arriving so early. Feeling a bit sorry for her, Chan reassures her that she doesn't need to do that. He gently places his hand on her head and tells her, "On the contrary, your presence has actually improved the shop's business." Surprised, she asks him to confirm that. Chan nods and explains, "Due to something I call Monday Syndrome, everyone turns into zombies." With a curious look, she asks, "What is Monday Syndrome?" He describes it as a terrible affliction that only adults suffer from, explaining when Monday arrives, everyone feels down and achy all over. However, he adds sincerely, "But today, when everyone saw you, their spirits lifted and the customers' moods improved." As she listens carefully, holding the snacks and juices, Chan asks, "Would you be okay with greeting the guests?" He smiles and encourages her, "Greet them with a big smile." She nods enthusiastically, declaring, "I will work hard at it." He thanks her and calmly says, "I'll pack the snacks into a bag for you." As they chat, a girl customer enters the convenience store, looking visibly tired and out of sorts. In a dazed voice, she calls out to Chan, asking, "Where is the hangover medicine?" Chan simply points her in the right direction, saying, "It's straight ahead." However, still feeling disoriented, she struggles to comprehend his instructions. Meanwhile, the little dragon girl watches the scene. With a cute smile, she calls out to the customer, greeting her politely like a sister. The customer looks puzzled at first, but her confusion quickly turns to delight when she sees the little girl's adorable face. With a warm smile, she exclaims, "How cute you are. How can someone be so charming?" She adds with a playful tone, "You merely stole my heart." Turning to Chan, the customer comments, "You must be thrilled to have such a lovely daughter." Chan beams at the compliment, feeling a swell of pride. After making her purchase, she puts the items in a bag and thanks the little girl again, mentioning, "I feel so re-energized." As she waves goodbye to both Chan and the little girl, she says, "We'll meet again soon." Chan returns her farewell with a smile, grateful for the cheerful interaction. Afterward, Chan glances at the little girl and realizes that not only does she uplift customers' spirits, but she also boosts sales. As she stands there holding an assortment of goodies like chocolates and bread, he remarks on the remarkable effect she has on the store. He places all the items into a bag for her and announces that it's time to create another gift. He then asks, "Do you have any colored pencils?" With a cute smile, she responds affirmatively and sits down at the table, eager to start her work. Chan encourages her to draw a background first and politely inquires, "What kind of scenery do you envision?" With pure enthusiasm, she replies, "I want a wide field under a clear blue sky." Standing by her side, he advises, "Sketch it on the drawing paper, and once you've finished, we can attach the paper flowers we made earlier." Fully focused on her artwork, she nods in agreement. Just then, Chan notices another customer entering the store. As he observes the newcomer, he realizes that it's a customer with a cat-like appearance. Chan warmly welcomes him and offers assistance. The customer glances around and asks, "Where are the snacks?" Chan points him in the right direction. Go straight and then turn left to find the snack shelf. The customer thanks him and moves on to search for what he needs. From behind the counter, Chan thinks that today is going smoothly. Likely due to the little girl making it easier to interact with customers, these thoughts swirl in his mind. He suddenly notices the little girl silently gesturing for his attention. He looks over at her, confusion evident on his face, and asks, "What you need?" As he approaches, she calls out to him softly, referring to him as an uncle. She then mentions the cat-faced customer, stating that the cat is all black. Chan glances at the customer, who is whistling calmly, and responds with surprise, pointing out that the customer's fur appears brown. "Do you mean his clothes are black?" he asks. She shakes her head, slowly clarifying that she isn't talking about his attire. Curious, Chan asks, "Are you implying the customer has a dark heart?" The little girl, feeling brave, hides under the counter with him and peeks out at the customer. Chan inquires again, "Do you think the customer is bad?" She nods, explaining if someone intends to do something wrong, their heart turns dark. Secretly observing the customer, Chan asks, "How do you know this?" With calm assurance, she replies, "I've seen men and women change their minds in such a way before." Impressed, Chan comments on how insightful she is and acknowledges that she is truly a special child. However, he reflects that the customer seems harmless for now. He recalls the manager mentioning that dragons can see magic, which makes him place even more trust in the words of this innocent little dragon girl. Agreeing with her intuition, Chan stands up, ready to keep an eye on the situation. He picks up the mop and tells the little girl to stay put for a moment. As he begins cleaning the floor, he inches closer to the customer, his eyes narrow with focus. With his full attention on the man, he prepares himself for any potential trouble. Thinking that if the customer attempts to steal or snatch something and make a run for it, he will make sure he feels the sting of justice delivered by his mop. To his surprise, the customer simply places a packet of snacks on the counter and calls out for him to ring up the payment. Chan freezes, utterly astonished. He wonders why the customer is here to pay if he wasn't planning to steal anything after all. The customer repeats his request, asking Chan to tell him the cost and collect the payment, snapping back to reality. Chan quickly agrees, stating that he'll handle it right away. As he checks the price of the snacks, a lingering confusion remains in his mind about whether this customer is truly innocent or if there's something suspicious beneath the surface. As the little girl secretly peeks at the scene from behind the counter, Chan starts to wonder if the customer might be planning something nefarious. He questions himself about what he should do if that's the case. Just as the customer pulls out his wallet to pay for the snacks, Chan makes a swift move and grabs the man's hand. The customer looks taken aback by the sudden action. "Sorry, I apologize," Chan quickly says, "but I need to see the contents of your wallet." While firmly gripping the customer's hand, he reassures him it'll only take a moment. His nerves get the best of him, and he starts to say 1 minute should suffice, but then quickly corrects himself. Just 30 seconds will do. The customer remains confused, glancing at Chan with a mixture of surprise and uncertainty. Chan requests again, "Just let me check your wallet, please." The customer firmly demands, "Why do you want to check my wallet?" At that moment, the tension hangs in the air. Chan's suspicion deepens. He recalls a previous encounter with a vampire kid's ID card and realizes that this wallet must also be a magical item. He worries that if he touches it, he might experience something similar to what happened with the vampire kid. Just as these thoughts swirl in his mind, the cat-faced customer swiftly hits Chan's hand, breaking free from his grip. The customer loudly questions, "Why are you holding my hand?" His tone is filled with irritation. He orders, somewhat nervously, "Don't touch me again." Chan, wearing a serious expression, feels the pressing need to get a hold of that wallet despite the customer's attitude. He's perplexed by the man's behavior, especially as the little girl looks on with wide eyes. Surprised by the scene, trying to keep his composure, Chan explains, "I just want to check the wallet. It looks really cool." He forces a smile and adds, "I'm interested in buying one just like it." He asks the customer, "Could you confirm the brand of the wallet? Can I take a quick look?" However, the customer, still speaking in a strict and agitated tone, flatly refuses and threatens to call the police, questioning Chan's sanity in the process. Hearing the customer's threat to call the police, the little girl looks worried. Chan quickly urges the man not to make that call, explaining that he simply wants to see the wallet. As they converse, the little girl sweetly calls out to the cat-faced customer, drawing both their attention. Observing the tension in the air, she beams a charming smile and politely asks, "Could I see your wallet just a little bit?" Her innocent eyes gaze up at him, and the customer, momentarily captivated by her cuteness, finds his hand instinctively reaching out to offer her his wallet. Though he mutters about why he should give it to her, his hand seems to act of its own accord. As the wallet slips from his grasp, Chan seizes the moment and quickly grabs it. In his mind, he thinks the little girl did a wonderful job distracting the customer. However, as Chan attempts to inspect the wallet, something strange occurs. It suddenly slips from his hands and falls to the ground. Chan's eyes widen in shock as he watches the wallet expand before him, leaving him utterly perplexed. Equally stunned, Chan gasps in disbelief, questioning what is happening. The wallet begins to grow larger, causing the customer to break into a nervous sweat. He stares at it in astonishment, asking, "Why is its size suddenly increasing like this?" Noticing the strange reaction in the bright lights emanating from the wallet, Chan quickly scoops up the little girl and ducks behind the counter for cover. As the lights fade, he cautiously glances back to see a scattering of items on the floor, snacks, toothpaste, chips, and various other goods from the store. Surprised, Chan wonders, why did all these items explode out of the wallet? He peeks at the cat-faced customer sitting on the floor, holding his head. Realizing a troubling truth, Chan understands that the customer has been sneakily stealing from him, hiding the stolen goods in a magical wallet. Stunned by the revelation of how many items the customer has taken, Chan turns to the little girl, who looks just as worried. He gently reassures her to stay put for a moment before stepping forward to grab the mop from the corner. With a serious and angry demeanor, he approaches the customer still sitting on the floor. He places the mop in front of the man and firmly states, "It seems you can see and speak properly." Chan asserts that they need to have a brief conversation. In a strict tone, he orders the customer to leave the store and warns him never to return. As the little girl watches the scene, Chan warns the customer in a serious tone. If you ever come back, your face will become a cleaning rag. Alarmed by Chan's angry demeanor, the cat-faced customer quickly flees the store, exhaling wearily. Chan thinks to himself that he'll have to clean up once again. Sensing his exhaustion, the little girl approaches him with a concerned expression and asks, "Are you all right?" He turns to her, reassures her that he is fine, and gently inquires, "Are you hurt anywhere?" With a bright smile, she replies, "I'm perfectly okay." Chan places his hand on her head, thanking her sincerely and expressing his gratitude for her help in preventing the theft. Just then, the manager enters the store, calling out it was actually Chan who dealt with the customer. Chan turns to her in surprise, feeling a mix of confusion and nervousness as he tries to explain it was merely an unavoidable accident. The manager flashes him a warm smile, reassuring him that everything is all right and that he doesn't need to worry. She politely asks, "Could you explain the situation in more detail?" Chan nods in agreement and begins to recount the entire incident. As Chan finishes explaining everything, the manager stands nearby, holding the peculiar wallet. She examines it closely and asks, "Were all the stolen items inside this wallet?" Sitting on the floor alongside the little girl and tidying up, he simply nods. He mentions, "I'm not entirely sure, but I suspect the items might have been transferred into it when I picked them up." He wonders aloud, could it have been magically moved into the wallet? Still focused on the wallet, the manager replies, "You're likely correct." She explains, "This wallet is a magical tool, an illegal modified one at that. It contains teleportation and spatial expansion spells, and it's been altered to bypass security magic." After sharing this information, she inquires, "How did you come to know all of this?" Feeling a bit anxious, Chan glances at the little girl, who also seems puzzled by the question. He admits it's a bit difficult to explain right now. The manager then turns her attention to the little girl, smiling as she comments on her unique presence. She thanks her for assisting with the store cleanup. However, when the little girl senses the manager moving closer, she quickly retreats behind Chan, displaying a hint of fear. Observing it all, the manager wears a smile, but her heart feels heavy. She kneels down, her voice tinged with sadness, and gently reassures the little girl that she is not a bad person. Chan steps in to support her, asking the little girl if it's time for preschool now. With a cute nod, she replies affirmatively. The manager stands up again, looking at both of them as Chan hands the little girl her bag filled with the snacks she received as gifts. He tells her that they will make her mom's gift another time. She agrees calmly, stating that she understands. With that, she cheerfully bids farewell to both Chan and the manager and heads toward the bus. Chan and the manager wave at her, urging her to be careful on her way. Once she leaves, the manager turns back to Chan and politely asks if he recognized a wallet due to his physical abilities. He nods and explains that when he first spotted the wallet, he sensed a strong instability around it. He adds that previously he needed to inspect closely to notice such things. But this time, the instability was so pronounced that it was evident at a glance. This clarity allowed him to recognize it immediately. Reflecting on everything, the manager remarks, "It seems Chan's constitution is gradually improving." With a nervous expression, he agrees with her. She explains, much like wizards who grow stronger through the use of magic, Chan's physical condition may be experiencing a similar enhancement due to all the challenges he's faced since arriving in this world. She suggests this could be a form of stimulated physical development. After sharing her thoughts, she pulls out her phone, dials the police number, and states, "We will discuss this further tonight, but first I need to address the theft that occurred today." Chan nervously interjects, insisting it's unnecessary since the matter has been resolved. However, the manager remains firm and completes the call to the police. A short while later, the same female police officer arrives at the convenience store with a straightforward demeanor. She explains that she has come in response to reports regarding the possession and use of illegal magical tools, as well as an attempted robbery. Introducing herself as Iwell, she asks, "Can you provide me with the details of the incident?"